Hello, audience, and welcome back to the Human Paradox podcast. I'm your co-host, Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ben. How you doing today, man?
You know, not bad. A little tired.
He's very tired. Work's been kicking his ass lately. Yeah. Is what he told me.
But what a weekend! The release of the Batman, AEW Revolution.
AEW Revolution, yes. I know that we're a few days late on it. At the time of this being uploaded, it should be around 3 or 4 days after Revolution has happened. But I feel like in a way that might kind of help us talk about it because we won't be blown away or it's given us time to gestate and think about it and consider how we feel about it. So on this episode, we wanted to give a quick review of the show and what we thought of it, and then on top of that, we have spent the last few weeks compiling our favorite wrestling matches and condensing that into a final top 10 favorite wrestling matches list for each of us. And what we were going to do is I would give my top 10, right? Explain my thoughts on it, and then he was going to give his top 10, right? And we would keep working down the list that way and see if we had any of the same matches and where they might line up. And yeah, that should be it for this episode, I think. So without further ado, let's get right into our Revolution review. What was the opening match again?
Before we get into that, I just want to say this. All right, so it seems to me that maybe it's just because AEW is a new company, but every time that they have a big show, and now it doesn't even have to be a pay-per-view. They did the same thing with, what was it called, Grand Slam when it was in New York City. Every single time they do a big show, people are automatically like, this is the greatest wrestling show I've ever seen in my entire life, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. All right, it's a good thing because they're obviously doing something right and they're attracting a really good fan base. But the reason it's a bad thing is people are now seeing one thing, and just because it's coming from a specific company and specifically not another company, they automatically deem it the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time. Okay? I think that because we're reviewing this on Wednesday and it happened on Sunday, we're actually going to be able to speak more objectively than if we had reviewed it right after, watching the show. That being said, I honestly don't remember all that much about the show, except for the big pivot, the big plot points. So like the MJF CM Punk match, CM Punk's entrance, that Sting match. What was that?
It was a triple
threat tag team match.
Yes, with Pac and Darby and Sting against Andrade.
And obviously the main event was great. All right. I think that hurts a lot of my opinion on the show. I think if a show is great and it's the greatest pay-per-view and it's a perfect show from top to bottom, you will remember everything on the card a week later.
And you and me have talked about this in the past, or I've told you that I don't like the fact that WrestleMania is 2 nights in a row now. And you've told me, oh, I love it because they get more wrestling. And that the reason why I don't like that is because of everything that you just said, right? I would much rather get a 1-night WrestleMania where I get 6 or 7 fantastic matches that have been built up, as opposed to 20 matches where most of the feuds have like 2 weeks built into them. And yeah, sure, the match might be good, but after a while, like it's too much,
I mean, I think if the company actually takes the time and builds every single match on the card,
then, if they take the time, but it's very hard to do.
Exactly. I don't think a 2-night WrestleMania is the best bet for this year. Last year, I definitely think it was the best bet because we got 2 all-time great main events, right? Like, how good would Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair be, and would we be talking about it today if that wasn't the main event of last year's WrestleMania? I don't think we would. And I doubt they would have opened the show with that. And if that match would have been placed anywhere else on the card, it wouldn't have been. Like, do you remember Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley? Well, Either of their matches at Mania? Because none of them were the main event.
Well, again, I don't know if that's really a fair argument to make because WWE right now has so many championships. If they were to condense, it's like you said, right? Oh, how are they going to fit Drew versus Bobby, Roman versus Daniel, Bianca? Like, very easy by consolidating it. If we had 1 men's world title, 1 women's world title, 1 tag title, and then you have the 2 mid-carders, it would be very easy to fit all of that into one show and make them all feel meaningful.
But they're probably not going to do that. So because we have such a big roster and so many titles, I think it makes sense to have a 2-night WrestleMania. But last year's WrestleMania definitely wasn't like the greatest WrestleMania of all time, but just the fact that we remember key moments from both nights. Like obviously, probably nobody's gonna remember the women's tag team championship match. I think that was Natalia and Tamina. They had like their big moment. They wrestled on both nights or something like that. But like, obviously, nobody's gonna remember that kind of stuff. But to hear a very famous, self-appointed famous wrestling podcaster call the triple threat tag team match a match of the year candidate.
No, he called the.
That's what he tweeted, dude.
But you're referring. No, he called the ladder match.
The ladder match.
He called the.
He progressively said that every single match was better progressively throughout the night.
I don't think he did that. I'm pretty sure
like
that
the way that he.
Because the Britt Baker match, he admitted that it was like slowing down significantly. It was the ladder match with Wardlow where as it was going on, he kept on saying over and over, "This is the best thing that I've ever seen." Yeah.
So like the pre-show, do you want to talk about the pre-show?
Yeah, because I was gonna. Everything that we just said is all a long-winded way to loop back around and say that the show to me felt very bloated, right?
I think the show was great. I think it had a lot of high moments, but I think it had a lot of low moments and a lot of meh moments. Key takeaways from that is like the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa match. I thought that was a match that should have main evented the show, to be honest, because that was the one story that they've built to over almost a year, and the crowd seemingly did not care at all when they wrestled. You know what I mean? I thought that was a low point.
I don't know that it should have main evented, but I can see why they delayed it. They delayed it because they want her to take it away from Britt Baker at the St. Patrick's Day thing it's called, I think. That's what a lot of people are hinting at.
I don't understand the business motto in that. I don't understand it at all, right? It's a pay-per-view. This is when the payoffs are supposed to happen. Why would you have a screwy finish on pay-per-view just to have her win the belt on TV?
I mean, it's well known that AEW's women division is not the best in the world.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
So I can't say that I'm disappointed at this point.
I don't know.
To answer your question, though, I forgot that this match even happened. The first opening match was Laila Hirsch versus Chris Stanler.
Chris Statlander. Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Stanler.
Yeah.
We got Pokemon out.
And I don't remember the match.
Didn't Laila Hirsch won, right? I don't know. We were like joking and talking about random shit then. So.
Laila Hirsch won, yes.
Yeah, okay. The match that I remember from the pre-show was
Hook versus QT Marshall.
I completely forgot about that one.
Well, those were your two pre-show matches.
No, because wasn't the Death Triangle?
You're right. Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry, I forgot. House of Black.
Well, let's talk about Hook for a second. All right, we can go back and forth on Hook. I think Hook is great. He thinks Hook is great. Here's the problem with Hook. I'm not saying he's Goldberg. I'm not saying he's Jade Cargill. He's starting to become a one-trick pony. All right, any matches that he's had, and granted it's been like one or two, that's been over 5 minutes, get really boring really quick. And the kid's good, and he's got a really bright future. I just think he needs to start doing other moves other than just suplexing someone.
I noticed it last night when you said it. His moveset basically consists of nothing but suplexes, right?
Which is fine if it's protected in a match. Like, I think they're building Hook to be the main staple point of their show, like for the future, right? But
you talking like main event?
Yeah, we talked back and forth about this all the time. Dominic Mysterio is definitely fallen to the wayside since he essentially made his debut. I think Dominic Mysterio is a better wrestler than Hook. And I think he's a better wrestler than Hook because he can actually work a long match and it not suck. His first match on pay-per-view was against Seth Rollins. And it was at SummerSlam 2020, I think. And it was really good. All right? I'm not saying he's world championship material, but like as of right now, if I had to pick one or the other, who can go out and like wrestle a main event match on TV, Dominic Mysterio 100% can.
You know,
now is it because he was learning on TV and not just like, oh, he was training with Cody Rhodes and not on TV for a year and a half, and then he finally came on the scene and started doing squash matches. I don't know. Dominic Mysterio did not go to NXT, which I 100% think hurt him in the long run.
Something that I just thought of that I think is kind of funny is that in the Pat McAfee Vince McMahon interview, or he might have said it earlier, I don't know, but Vince McMahon said that he doesn't want professional wrestlers, he wants sports entertainers, right? Because
No, that's not what he said. He said he doesn't want professional wrestlers. He wants superstars. Because he thinks. Yeah, he even came out and said it. He's like, yes, what we have on our TV show is professional wrestling. Everybody knows it's wrestling. They wrestle each other. But if you only market it as wrestling, a wider audience is not going to watch it. So that's why he markets them as superstar.
Exactly. Yeah. So going off that statement, right? Vince wants superstars. He wants household names. He wants people. He wants people who are going to be looked up to like heroes.
Oh yeah. Who's the bigger superstar between Dominic and Hook? Hook.
That's why I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, Dominic could easily be considered the better wrestler. Yeah. He has the bigger moveset. He can do more things than him. And yet,
what if they switched companies tomorrow?
Exactly. You know? And yet Hook's the superstar.
Yeah. Well, that's marketing. They haven't marketed Rey Mysterio.
You mean Dominic?
They haven't marketed either of them as being anything worthwhile.
I find it funny that Vince says that he wants superstars, and then he has a wrestler, and then AEW, which is considered real wrestling, has Hook, who is nothing but a superstar. But from what I've seen,
he's good. He's
very good, but he's very limited, right?
We're not Hook haters. We're huge Hook fans. I just want to see more from him.
I want to fuck Hook.
No, I don't want to fuck Hook, but I think like obviously QT Marshall is a seasoned professional wrestler who knows his way around the ring, but like I did not want to see that match. I wanted to see Hook versus Cody. I think that match would be awesome because I think Cody would actually, let him do more. But like the pre-show's the pre-show. Those matches are meant to draw people from YouTube/TV to the pay-per-view. Having Hook on the pre-show, I guess it's not technically his first match on pay-per-view. So who knows who will face. But let's talk about the Death Triangle match.
House of Black versus Death Triangle. Who was on the...
So it was Penta, Pac, and Eric Redbeard. That's going to be really hard for me to call him that.
I thought that Pac was on the Tornado one, wasn't he?
No.
Are you sure? Okay,
100%.
I'll believe you.
And then obviously the House of Black was Brody King, Malachi Black, and Buddy Murphy.
Yep.
Buddy Matthews.
You said this to me during the match, and I do agree with you. Buddy, like having the name Buddy, he does not fit in the House of Black.
Yeah, let's talk about the House of Black. I like the idea of the House of Black. I know you're a big fan of it.
I'm a huge House of Black fan. I mean, Ben can tell you, I literally bought the stained glass House of Black T-shirt,
it's a cool T-shirt,
like the day after it came out because I love them.
I think the House of Black is a really cool concept, all right? But my big problem with it is instead of using it as a sort of follow me on this, all right? Instead of using it as like a beacon to bring the current AEW talent up. Case in point, the Varsity Blondes and Julia Hart. They used it to bring other people into AEW that didn't necessarily need it. Now, Brody King, he's obviously like, you look at the guy, you're like, oh, he's all tattooed up. He's into like the heavy metal shit. He would fit with Malachi Black. That kind of makes sense. Buddy Matthews, it makes sense storyline wise if you're assuming everybody watched WWE last year, right? Because Buddy Murphy was the guy that did the thing to his eye and made him turn him into Malachi Black, right? But I didn't want to see those guys in the House of Black. I really wanted to see Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. join the House of Black because I thought it would have made a lot of sense for the story because they could have told a story like he's not just like a really good wrestler that spits black stuff in your face. They would have told lore of like, oh, when he spits black in your face, it corrupts your soul and turns you evil. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, ever since the Varsity Blonde feud began between them and the House of Black, every week that we watched Dynamite for like 2 months straight, whenever they showed that feud, you were always saying, "Oh, this is it. This is it."
Yeah, and if there was one tag team on the roster that like I don't want to say they needed a change, but like definitely needed to go in a different direction because it's the Hollywood Blondes, the Varsity Blondes. You know what I mean?
And
because they're really good.
And
Pillman's great.
It would have been very easy to change them too, because they're blonde. Literally just dye
their hair,
and immediately it's okay. They're in the House of Black now, right?
Yeah, I think that would have been way cooler. But besides that, I think the match was really good. I love Buddy Matthews' new finish.
Yeah,
he calls it the curb stomp, and it literally looks like a curb stomp. It's not like a Seth Rollins stomp curb stomp.
Well, because with the WWE curb stomp, like
that move was banned for years.
Well, that's because WWE doesn't want kids doing that move, which I can understand. But like, you watch the WWE move, and like, you can clearly tell Seth is not pushing down on their heads, right?
Even when Britt Baker does it, it still looks like shit.
It's the people slamming their face into the ground. You watch this move, and Buddy has both of their arms behind their back, and he has his foot on the back of their head, and he holds them there to like build up tension and then pull the arms back.
And then he stomps them with his entire body.
Stomps them, and then he lets go of their arms, so they just go flying forward. That looks like a really devastating curb stomp. I love that move for him.
What do you think of Brody King so far in AEW? I know a lot of people were really excited when he came in. I knew he worked the Indies. I don't know exactly what promotion. I think he worked House of Glory a couple of times. I don't hate him. I just think he's very limited in the ring.
I don't think that he's like unsafe like Ryback, but I think that he's very sloppy. I think that like a lot of his moves don't work for me. I don't know.
So do you think he's unintentionally sloppy? Because I think he's intentionally sloppy to make it look like he's more violent. Like when he does his cannonball, he literally throws his entire it looks like it's sloppy, but I think he does it on purpose. And he does it in a safe way.
I don't hate him.
I don't think he's hurting anybody.
I don't hate him. I haven't seen enough of him wrestle to say that I don't like him. But from what I've seen, it doesn't look as refined as Malachi or Buddy Murphy.
Yeah.
But then again, those are two, like, who are the best in their field, throwing knee strikes and all that. So.
Yeah, like you and I are both very big Wyatt family fans and big fans of Eric Rowan, now going by Eric Redbeard. When those two faced off in the ring, I was so excited. And then they did it, and I was like, "Oh my god, make it stop!"
It was a slap fight
so
for like
boring.
a minute straight, right?
It was so boring, and I'm not saying that they're not doing flips, so it's boring. I'm saying like it just didn't look good. They weren't running into each other with intensity. They didn't make any of their shit look real.
Yeah, that's right. Wasn't it like? It was like Brody would, or what's his name, Brody King?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Brody King would rebound off the rope and then bump into Eric, who was in the middle of the ring. Eric would take it, then Eric would rebound, bump into Brody, and they were doing that, right? Weren't they? For like a minute straight, and we were just watching this happen, and we're like trying to figure out what's happening. Like, I was watching the other wrestlers to see if they were like doing anything else outside the ring, and no, we were just watching this happen for a minute straight. Nothing really happened between the two.
See, my big takeaway from this is, like, I don't want to see any more of this, like, creepy Penta shit, or whatever he changed his gimmick to now. Like,
where he has the shovel.
Yeah, I think it's weird, and not weird in a cool way. I don't want to see Pac even involved with the Lucha Brothers anymore. I think he should, like...
I want Pac to go and do his own thing.
Yeah, this is not a Jey Uso scenario. Like, I know that Pac is great by himself, and I know for a fact that Pentagon Jr. is very great by himself.
Is he the one that walks on the rope, or was that Ray Phoenix?
That's Ray Phoenix. Okay. But like, man, they need Phoenix back, because this is not a Jey Uso situation where the tag team partner goes away and they just get fully behind the guy and make him into a superstar. I think I was very uninterested in it. And I said to you, I'm like, oh, I can't believe they put this match on the pre-show. And they ended up putting it on the pre-show. Like, I don't know. But overall, pre-show wasn't terrible. I didn't really care. And then what was the first match on the card?
Take a guess.
I literally can't remember.
That's not a good sign.
No.
Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that match wasn't bad.
I would say this was... I'm debating between either this or Eddie's match against Moxley for what I consider to be the best Eddie Kingston match.
You don't like his match with Bryan? His match with Punk was really good, too.
I do like his match with Bryan, but it's just not my favorite.
See, I like Eddie Kingston, but Eddie Kingston's not the guy that I go after to... Like, I don't actively watch AEW just to watch Eddie Kingston.
No, I love Eddie Kingston. I love everything that his character stands for.
I love how unapologetically
everybody likes to say that Daniel Bryan back in WWE was the everyman. That's bullshit. Eddie Kingston is the quintessential everyman. He looks like a dad who just
looks like a fat drunk dad. That's what we constantly
a fat drunk dad who said, "Hey, I want to go wrestle," and then he just wrestles. Eddie Kingston,
and he's really good at it.
Eddie Kingston, you heard it first here on this podcast. Eddie Kingston does not know that wrestling is fake. And you cannot convince us otherwise.
Yeah, there's no way in hell he knows it's fake.
He does not know that it's not fake. He doesn't act like it in the promo. He doesn't act like it in the ring. I feel like I'm watching a dude just go into the ring off the streets and try to wrestle.
You see,
in a good way. He knows what he's doing.
See, I was surprised that Eddie won. I thought Jericho was going to win and they were going to run it back and actually like make a program out of this. I think it's just going to be a one-off though, or maybe they'll. Because Jericho didn't shake his hand at the end, so maybe they'll keep
in mind the build up to this. It was basically Chris calling Eddie a loser and a failure, and he said, "Eddie, if you're able to beat me, then I'll take it back and I'll shake your hand and I'll show you respect."
I guess we'll find out tonight, if they follow up on the timeline.
That's right. We are recording this on Wednesday. We have an hour until the show starts.
Yeah. But I mean, what do you want to see next from Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho both? Like, if they don't continue the feud, what do you want to see?
So it's easy to give the generic answer and say, "Oh, I want Eddie Kingston to win the world title. Oh, I want him to win the TNT title." It's very easy to say that.
I can't picture a belt on Eddie Kingston.
I don't think that that's what Eddie's character needs right now. I feel like Eddie has the fans behind him. I don't know a single person who doesn't like Eddie Kingston. Eddie needs the fans behind him, but it's like Chris Jericho as pointed out. It's like he's pointed out in the promos, right? When I was 17, I was main eventing WrestleMania. You're fucking 40 or whatever. What have you done with your career, right? What Eddie's character needs right now is respect. He needs wins under his belt. He needs feuds against people who are going to give him that respect.
Oh, I very highly disagree.
Oh, you disagree?
We'll get to my point here.
And I think that right now he's in the perfect place feuding with Jericho. I think
so?
I feel like if they develop this, that this could give Eddie a lot of momentum to then possibly push him against a Wardlow or whoever has the TNT title.
So
at the time.
there is absolutely nothing I want to see more on AEW television. And I mean that. There's a lot of shit I want to see on that television. There is absolutely nothing I want to see more on AEW television than Eddie Kingston versus MJF.
For the title or just
that
in general?
feud? Just the feud. It doesn't have to be for the title. Just the feud. Imagine the promos. Just imagine.
Well, yeah.
How real it got under CM Punk.
Well, how does that
just multiply it by 10 when to the guy that doesn't know that wrestling's not real?
So how is that you not agreeing with me? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that.
No, because MJF would beat him.
Oh, you want him to beat him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because that would obviously... Because he's one of the biggest baby faces in the company right now, Eddie Kingston. So, if you have the biggest baby face...
Who's the biggest... Who would you say is the big... John Moxley, probably?
Hangman.
Hangman's?
The world champion.
After last night, I'm not so sure. He used Cole's finisher.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. But anyway, you have one of the biggest baby faces face the undisputed biggest dirtbag heel. All right? And then through that, they kind of go their separate ways. So MJF moves up to the world title picture, and then Eddie Kingston goes on a heel run. Because Eddie Kingston's great as a face, but holy shit, him as a heel, one of the greatest promos I've ever seen in my entire life was the Eddie Kingston John Moxley promo.
The one
when he was like, "You're gonna have to kill me. This is why I don't have kids." And he's pointing to the world title, Eddie Kingston heel, take my money. And just I just want to hear MJF call him a fat drunk dad slob because he will, and for a fact that Eddie Kingston's quick on his feet and he's gonna make just such entertaining television. I didn't want to see this feud between Jericho and Kingston, but just because Eddie Kingston was involved, I watched it and I got into it. But the match itself, was it the greatest match I've ever seen? No. Was it the greatest match to open this pay-per-view? Probably not. Honestly, if I was AEW, I would have put either the women's title or the men's title on first.
I would have put the women's title on first. Yeah. I agree with that. I wouldn't have put the men's title.
Yeah. We'll talk a little about this later. I think the match order was just batshit out of whack, right? You look at. So they started with this match, then they go to the tag titles.
Speaking of which, while we're on that subject, did you watch Raw this week?
No.
They copied this match. The tag match. The opening to Raw was...
Oh, it was a triple threat tag team match?
It was a triple threat tag team match that went I think 40 minutes. It was insane. It was a great opening to the show. And
who was it?
Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Alpha
Bro,
Academy, and RK Bro,
okay.
which RK Bro won.
Well, that fucking mixes things up. So now what?
So you didn't watch it?
No, I didn't watch Raw.
So
No.
I'll do a quick recap. Kevin Owens at the end of the show invited Steve Austin onto the KO show next week. Seth Rollins didn't do anything. He was just looking really depressed after they lost. After Randy won, Randy called Riddle his best friend, and we didn't hear from Alpha Academy after they lost.
When's the title match? Is it WrestleMania or is it next week?
What title match? It was a title match.
Oh,
RK Bros are the new champions.
Really?
Yeah.
They buried Chad Gable again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit, I did not know that.
I mean, I don't blame you for not watching Raw, but that's what happened. And that was all that mattered. Literally, the rest of the show sucked. It was just the opening that was good. Point being, they copied this Red Dragon.
Well, okay, did they copy it? No, I don't think they did because this match was booked like 3 weeks in advance.
What was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a lot of the same.
Here's what we both agree on. I don't understand the whole point of a triple threat tag team match.
No, I mean
you have one team, so you can only have 2 people in the ring at the same time. All right, and one entire team is out on the ropes. That doesn't make any sense.
Because why would you ever?
Tag these people in? I cannot believe people actually thought this was one of the greatest tag team matches they've ever seen. I thought this match was really boring. There was almost zero story.
To the fans, yeah, it was the Young Bucks versus Red Dragon versus Jurassic Express for the AEW tag titles.
Now, we both thought that Red Dragon was going to win. I wanted Red Dragon to win.
I did not. Let me clarify. I did not hate this match.
I didn't hate it either. I just thought it wasn't that great.
The fact that people were on social media saying this was one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. I don't know what you've been watching. It was just fine.
Speaking of people on social media, you seen that Tony Khan? So like obviously he bought Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Did you see that like he's gonna be like head of creative for Ring of Honor too?
I did.
I think that's a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
He has William Regal.
Either William Regal.
He has William
Cody
Regal.
Rhodes,
He can get Cody Rhodes. Like, oh my God, get him away from that. He's gonna turn into Vince McMahon, and it's not gonna be good.
I'm not going to say that he'll turn into Vince McMahon, but I don't think that it's good creatively for one.
He's
person.
going to be drained.
It's not. Yeah. It's not good for one person to be doing so many projects at the same time. That's why Triple H ran NXT. That's all. That's the only thing. The only thing that Triple H had to focus on was NXT, and look at how great that was.
Look at how much better all of the product was when Vince focused on Raw and SmackDown, and Triple H focused on NXT. Now Vince runs all of it,
and it's all mediocre. Yeah, it's all mediocre.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But anyway, back to the tag team match.
There's not much for me to say because it's.
So we've had this ongoing. When you first saw the Young Bucks, you thought they were like amazing, right?
Yes.
You thought they were like one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Well,
I mean, like you've heard that from everywhere.
That's because you know what my first Young Bucks match was. It was the steel cage match.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
That was my first Young Bucks match, so naturally I thought they were amazing. Which
that match is, I think that match is the greatest steel cage match of all time, and I don't think I had it on my list. If it's not on my list, it's just like barely
11, whatever.
Yeah, but like, I've constantly been explaining to you over the past couple of months. I'm like, the more I see the Young Bucks, the more I hate the Young Bucks, and it's not because they suck. They're incredible athletes. All right, they have no idea what selling is. They have no idea what ring psychology is. They're spot monkeys, and spot monkeys work when it's like a multi-man tag match and you just need nothing but action to go down, right? But like you see it all the time. Matt or Nick Jackson's just like standing on the outside in position for someone to jump on them. It takes so much out of the match for me.
I can't remember if we've talked about it on this show, like the art of selling, and I think that we did. But like that is my number one thing that I want from a wrestling match. If you give me nothing else, make me believe that what the wrestler did to the other person legitimately hurt him.
Well, we'll definitely talk about selling because it happens later on in the show.
Yeah, but like
at expert levels, you know.
But like that is my number one pet peeve. If I see a person do a fucking backflip off the top rope and nail a guy through a table, and I see that person get up like a minute and a half later, I am immediately gonna be turned off to what I'm watching. And they don't. It's not that bad in this show, but I noticed the Young Bucks doing a lot of no selling.
Yeah,
and
obviously like the Jurassic Express is a decent tag team. I think they have a really cool finish. the two best tag teams in the entire company are FTR and Undisputed Era. It's not even close.
The Jurassic Express is the New Day of AEW.
They're great.
It's
they're
the
great.
kid family friendly tag team, and I love them.
But like, I think it's the separation between the former WWE tag teams and these indie tag teams is like so great now. You know what I mean? Like, you watch an FTR match, it's great no matter who they work with. You watch a Red Dragon match, it's great no matter who they work with. You watch a Young Bucks match, people say it's great, but it's actually not that good. You know what I mean? The Acclaimed is a really good tag team. I think Santana and Ortiz is great, but like, the guys that were in WWE and learned the style of selling and like actually using ring psychology, coming to this company where it seems like it's an anything goes, you can do whatever you want.
It really does kind of seem like the Wild West of wrestling right now with AEW. I'd agree, yeah.
I mean, so I used to really like AEW because you never knew what you were going to get on any given night. They mixed up every single genre. You could get lucha libre, you could get a death match, you could get strong, Japanese strong style, you could get spot fest wrestling, just great grappling. You could get it all in one show. And lately it's starting to it's all kind of going to we do nothing but spots and then we bleed type of promotion. And maybe it was just a one night thing. I don't know. It's a hot take. I don't think AEW is perfect. I think that the more bad shows they have, the better they're going to be in the long run.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't hate AEW at all.
He's wearing an AEW sweatshirt right now.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing my shirt, but that's not because I didn't want to. It's just because I was too lazy.
Yeah.
But no, I don't hate AEW at all. I don't hate WWE. I hate people who hate either company and then do nothing but suck the other company's dick.
Yeah.
Purely because I don't like WWE. It's like I'm sorry. Are we not watching to watch wrestling?
Yeah, it's like Polana with WWE and JD with AEW. You know.
Yeah, it's like
we know they like both companies, but do they do that because that's what they actually think or because of views? I think it's because of views. Not a single person can watch that triple threat match and be like, "That's the greatest tag team match I've ever seen."
So like
You know what I mean?
even though that we're going to be hard on AEW relative to what other podcasters might do in this episode, that doesn't mean that we hate it. That just means that we didn't think that the wrestling was as good as it could be in the show.
I will never be biased to one company over the other. Like if I see good wrestling, I'm going to call it out.
I'm watching AEW to watch wrestling. I'm watching WWE to watch wrestling. I don't have any preference. I want good entertainment. I want good wrestling at the end of the day.
So what match was on after the tag team match? Once again, like the tag team match, I remembered it because it happened. But
I think this was the worst match of the night. Well, I don't know. But it's the ladder match. Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, and Christian Cage in the ladder match.
I have a lot to say about this match.
Yeah.
All right. So we already established on the first episode of this podcast that, my opinion on ladder matches kind of changed because Aaron saw the Sammy Guevara Cody Rhodes match and he fucking hated it. And I loved it the first time I saw it. And then when he explained it to me, I was like, yeah, I agree. But I agreed because I understood, right? In a one-on-one ladder match, there's literally like no time to sell anything because you have to make a time hack, right, for the match. There's only two people in there. If you want to have something other than just two people laying in the ring, you got to no-sell some stuff. All right? So I would argue just don't do those matches on TV. Do them at the pay-per-view. Because then you don't have a time hack, right? This match, on the other hand, they 100% had the opportunity to sell stuff. And I thought this match I told you, this match is going to be awesome because Christian is in the match. And he is the king of calling ladder matches. All of the greatest ladder matches in WWE history, this man was a part of. Every single one of them. Except for, the Money in the Bank last year, right?
Yeah.
But, my God, do we like Keith Lee anymore?
I don't even know where to begin with this match because so much happened and none of it had any weight to it because nobody sold anything.
All right, so let's start off. What did you think of Orange Cassidy's role in the match? I thought it was clever, but really stupid.
I think that Orange Cassidy played his part well because Orange Cassidy, great wrestler, everybody loves him, but let's be honest, he's the joke, right?
He's the joke, yeah.
He's the joke character, so it makes sense for him to be doing jokey stuff. I don't mind him.
So like two guys are holding up a ladder, and then he just jumps on top of it.
Yeah.
And instead of, he's like inches from the belt, and instead of dropping the ladder, they just kind of hold him there because it's their spot. I'm like, that makes no sense. And then who's the one that picked up? Was it Hobbs?
Yes.
No. It was Orange Cassidy. He picked up the ladder and did the helicopter spin with it.
Yeah.
And instead of hitting other people with the ladder, the other people just blatantly walked into the ladder, even though it's spots like that. And there's a difference, right? There was one Spot Fest match on this card that we both absolutely loved.
Which was the triple threat?
It was the Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara versus
right.
That was done well. This was done horribly.
It was done horribly because it like we said, it makes sense for Orange Cassidy to do stupid stuff. But
it does not make sense for
at the end of the day, what is the point of a wrestling match? It's because people want to win the match. So when I see Wardlow go out of his way to position a ladder like in the middle of the steps and on top of the high rope and then walk away and not do anything with it just because he was setting up for a spot 5 minutes later, it takes away from the match because I'm like, why is he not climbing that ladder right now and going for the ring? And what's his name? Ricky Starks?
Ricky Starks is awesome. I love
Ricky Starks is awesome. He was within fingertips of the ring, whatever it's called, for like a solid minute and a half and just never grabbed it. And I'm sitting there watching it going, does he want to win the match or does he not want to win the match, right?
I think the mix between guys that were really fast and guys that weren't was very obvious here. Right? When you got Will Hobbs and Keith Lee and Wardlow in there, they're all really big dudes. And then Ricky Starks and I guess Christian's still on that slow side too. But like Ricky Starks and Orange Cassidy are. Was there another person in the match? I think I missed
Powerhouse Hobbs.
No, I said Hobbs.
Let me go back.
One of the smaller guys, but like you would think
Keith Lee, Cassidy, Hobbs, Starks, Wardlow, and Cage. That was it.
Okay, yeah, this was only 5. All right. Yeah, I didn't think the mix of guys that were big and slow and the guys that were smaller and faster really mixed. I didn't think it worked for the spots, But I'm going to say something very controversial here.
Okay. I feel like it's going to be about Keith Lee, isn't it?
It's about Keith Lee.
Yep.
All right. Is it okay to say something controversial about Keith Lee when he's only been with the company for maybe 3 weeks?
You can say whatever you want. It's our fucking podcast.
All right, so like Keith Lee was obviously, I guess you could say, mistreated, misrepresented in WWE.
Yes.
He's a big man that didn't wrestle like a big man. He wrestled like a small man.
Yeah.
All right, and you and I have gone back and forth. I'm like, I understand why Vince let him go. Right, because Vince wants a specific style from a man that would look like Keith Lee. You look at a guy like Keith Lee, you're like, yeah, he could easily just destroy Omos. You know what I mean? He's big, he's strong, and he can actually work. And Keith Lee, I guess, took offense to that. He's like, no, I like doing moonsaults and the drop down and jumping over people and stuff like that. And then he comes to AEW, where everybody does that stuff. I'm not saying that he doesn't stand out, because he definitely stands out because he's big. But I don't think Keith Lee has looked good in a single match that he's been in since he's been in AEW.
He looked good in
because there was a squash match that he did, but he was really slow.
He had a lot of ring rust in the first match, yeah.
Right, like I'm used to seeing Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic. That's my Keith Lee match, the greatest Keith Lee matches of all time. Where him working with Dijak. And then he comes to AEW, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to get to work with Wardlow and Hobbs and all these bigger guys. I can't wait to see him wrestle Lance Archer. And now, I think the honeymoon phase for me is over with Keith Lee. Like, I don't need to see him on TV anymore. Like,
I'm not going to say that I don't need to see him on TV anymore.
And that really hurts. It really hurts me to say that, because I love Keith Lee, I think if anybody was exposed, it's not fair to just pinpoint him on the ladder match. But I think everything that he's done since being in AEW has been very subpar for his own standards.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that I don't need to see him on TV like how you feel, because Tony Khan has Ring of Honor now, right?
Well, let's talk about like the roster. Like, they got so many guys from WWE, not just WWE, but like other promotions that aren't featured on TV. Like, where's Jay Lethal? We both saw that one Jay Lethal match. I'm like, this guy is like world champion level. He is awesome.
The promo that he cut against
Ricky Starks was amazing.
Where I love the mindset of like, hey, hey, like
That FTW championship means nothing, but it means something to you. So now I want it.
That's
Like,
that promo is awesome,
yeah.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying, right? I'm not going to say that I don't want to see Keith Lee on TV right now because he's not doing much because there's Ring of Honor now.
I don't want to. I don't. But I don't think they're going to use Ring of Honor as like a second brand like SmackDown. I think they're going to use Ring of Honor as a developmental.
And that's good.
That's good because it'll get all of the younger talent that can't work yet off of Dynamite.
And that's where I think that
Right, but will it do that? I don't know. I think I think there's really nothing for Keith Lee to do in AEW right now. I think they should just like take him off of TV and just rest talent. Like they didn't need to debut him this early.
No.
You know what I mean? And like if Wyndham comes in, what the hell is he gonna do?
No, me and you have said this for a while now. AEW needs to stop hiring people.
I don't think they need to stop hiring people. They just need to they need to like cut the year in half and or like have seasons. That this guy works now so that the talent that work at this point can rest. It'll help make the roster a lot healthier. I don't know if it's the best thing to do from a business standpoint, but like obviously your Kenny Omegas and John Moxleys and those guys of that caliber and Punk, they would work year round, but like they would have to, because I think right now if they took CM Punk off of TV, I think the ratings would really go down.
I think so, yeah.
Definitely if they took MJF off TV, but like Keith Lee, I love Keith Lee. I'm a huge Keith Lee fan. I don't think he can work in AEW. I think he's a WWE, like they push him to the moon type of guy or nothing. Like he just won't fit in AEW.
Keith Lee he's not believable as a mid-carder. I don't think.
Yeah, that's why they didn't put him as a mid-carder.
That's why I'm saying you either push him you either push him or you don't.
No, I'm saying so WWE, he was in NXT, he dominated everybody, became the North American champion, and then he was the one that beat Adam Cole for the NXT title. And the way that they capitalized on that is they had Karrion Kross demolish him for the title, and that set Kross up for success. But then when they brought Keith Lee to the main roster, they didn't have him immediately go after Drew McIntyre, which is what they should have done. You know what I mean? Like he wrestled him a couple times.
There was like a weird Drew Sheamus Keith Lee friendship triangle.
But honestly, I think that hurt his stock going after Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is great. Drew McIntyre was the Iron Man of the pandemic. But if you want to make a star, you send him after Roman Reigns because he will make them a star. Especially because the two had like history of the Survivor Series, right?
Yeah.
But like, do I want to see Keith Lee as the world champion in AEW eventually? But I don't know.
I don't think I do. Not for a long time. There's
something to be said about who they have in the company that can be world champion and why they shouldn't put it on them. Because all of the people that are in the company that could absolutely be world champion are from WWE. And that sends a message that like, oh, well, we're going to take it off of our workhorse Hangman Page and put it on CM Punk. Because he fucking earns it and he's the biggest star.
I don't know. I don't think that I ever want to see Punk win that title.
I'd be okay with it, but not babyface Punk.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, not current Punk. I don't think.
Yeah. So the crowd, all right, the crowd for the first 3 matches, that was really hot for the first match, the Kingston match, and then kind of tired for the second match, which was the tag team match.
And then this match.
This match, I thought there were points when they were really into it, and points where they were just not. They didn't really care about it.
I think that they were into it for the most part.
Yeah, but don't worry, we hit a wall very soon.
It's not this one. I think I'm in the minority of people who liked this match. I don't know. I'm a huge Jade Cargill versus Tay Conti. I like Jade.
Yeah. So this is the first match. This is the first match that I think they misplaced on the card.
Before the match even began, they had, I don't know who it was, just they had a guitarist playing Jade's theme. It sounded really really.
Oh yeah, no. I'm a big Jade Cargill fan too. I think she's not a very good worker yet, but she's also very green.
I've seen her improve a lot.
Yeah, she's improved a lot
in the past 2 months. Yeah.
Tay Conti. What can I say? I think she's also very much improved. But is she believable at all to beat Jade Cargill? No. So why would you book that match for the pay-per-view? You have Mercedes Martinez in your company. Why wouldn't you have her go after Jade Cargill? Like, come on. Tony Khan.
Yeah, I mean, from a storytelling perspective, yeah, but like, I'm when I said that I liked this match, I meant like just from the overall match itself. I thought that it was very entertaining for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Quick caveat on this, since we're talking about the TBS title. Where's Ruby Soho? Because I haven't seen her on TV in weeks. She wasn't on the pay-per-view.
I thought that she was on like 2 weeks ago, wasn't she?
If she was, I don't remember seeing
I remember very recently you said like, "Oh, look, it's Ruby Soho." I know that you like she might have been in like a tag team match or something.
See, I wonder, like, she came to AEW and she was so happy because, like, no, I get to be on TV. I'm like, I feel like the reason that they didn't put the TBS title on her is because she came from WWE. I honestly think that's the reason they didn't do it, because there's literally no reason. Jade Cargill was not ready for it. She was not ready for it. I'll fight that to my grave.
Now when she got it, no,
and I still think she's not ready for it. If you want it to mean something when she wins it, you have her beat someone for it that held the title for a while. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jade is. I'm not saying she's one-dimensional. She's not Bianca Belair, who's the person that she's going to be the most compared to. Similar body styles, similar movesets. They both do glam slams. The difference between the two is Jade didn't go through a developmental brand like Bianca did.
Yeah.
What do you think of her mic skills? I think her mic skills kind of suck. All that she says is "that bitch show." And I thought the match was weird. There was way too much kissing for some reason in a wrestling match.
Yeah, that's right. Jade like kissed her in the beginning and then like in the middle. I don't know what they're doing with that, but
is it time for Jade Cargill to lose the title?
Well,
I say no, because I don't think anybody cares about the title to begin with.
The question is, who do you put it on?
Ruby.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ruby Soho. See, you build up such a big undefeated streak that when Ruby beats her for it, it means something. Or they use that strictly as we're giving this belt to up and coming talent, which is similar to what they've done with the TNT title.
You know what I'd like to see though, if they do make Ring of Honor a wrestling promotion again, bring that down to Ring of Honor, the TBS
as like the world title,
as like the women's title, yeah, and the TNT title. I don't know.
They could do that, but it wouldn't.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now. No concrete ideas, but it's just something.
They could do something like that, but it wouldn't make any sense because it's probably not going to be on TBS or TNT. It might be on a streaming service or on the internet somewhere.
Whatever. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Because I do agree with you. I don't think that anybody cares about it that much.
Yeah. I mean,
things that people do care about though is the next match, which was CM Punk versus MJF in a dog collar match.
I think the reason that they put the TBS title match on before this is because they thought that the ladder match was going to get the crowd really, really hyped.
It did,
and it did to a degree. But I think they should have built off the hype of the ladder match and put this match on right after the ladder match, because A, there wasn't any blood in the ladder match, and there was a lot of blood in this match, so it's automatically different. B, it's automatically going to be less of a spot fest match. Like, there were moments in this match that you could consider spots.
An MJF and Punk?
Yeah. But, like, I think they should have put this match on next and then either put the TBS title as a cool down match for this, because this match completely took everything out of the entire rest of the show until the main event.
So, yeah, CM Punk versus MJF. What are your thoughts on the intro?
So, we start off with the beginning of Cult of Personality, and everybody's like going crazy because it's CM Punk on pay-per-view, and then the music stops, and then MJF comes out. I thought that was kind of clever, because you and I have talked many times, and I always say, when does a wrestling match start? When the bell rings, or as soon as they walk out from behind the curtain? And I think that it's as soon as they walk out behind the curtain, because you can get a lot of story through that. So the story from this was MJF's entrance. He comes out in a robe right after cock teasing the crowd, and he's cocky as hell, and he's mouthing off to the crowd. And then we get CM Punk's Ring of Honor entrance. Now, we were both kind of crossing our fingers that they were going to use This Fire Burns, because we both kind of were like, well, if they used Cult of Personality for this little intro part, he's obviously going to enter to different music.
Yeah.
Because he's bringing back the old CM Punk. So
we didn't realize that he was going this far.
Yeah, we didn't realize it. So he comes out with his Ring of Honor theme song, which I really
Ring of Honor gear. Too.
Yeah, Ring of Honor gear, the shorts. Didn't really bring back any of his Ring of Honor moveset, which kind of pissed me off.
Did he not do the Pepsi plunge?
No.
I could have sworn he did, but okay.
He did it in their first match. I don't think he did it in this match.
Okay.
Because he beat him with the GTS.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But holy shit, this match was intense. There wasn't a whole lot that happened in this match, but it was the best match on the card because of the story and the selling. The selling.
Yeah, this match, I mean, this match had a lot of similarities with Triple H and The Undertaker, where I felt like these are two men trying to kill each other. That was the vibe that I got from this match. I don't know about you, but...
Oh, I got Roman J. Uso vibes from this match. Like, the amount of shit-talking and crowd work, even though they didn't work a crowd. Like,
I love... My favorite part of this match is the beginning, where they're kind of testing out the dog collar, leaning back on the neck a little bit, right? And then Punk starts yanking him in by the chain, right? And then MJF falls to his knees and he's begging Punk. He's saying, "Punk, I'm sorry. And regardless of whether or not the MJF character means it or not, MJF is a fucking fantastic actor. And it sounds like the man is pleading for his life. He's saying, "Punk, I'm sorry. Please, I don't have to do this," right?
Yeah.
Punk's not buying it, and then Punk just has full control for the first 10 minutes. And then MJF like cuts him open, and then for the rest of the match, Punk is just bleeding, just blood all over his face.
So the reason that this match got such a big reaction and was so good, right? You take away all of the promo work, is this match that good?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Not as good as it would be, but it's still very good.
No, because the story has lore. They've been building to this match since Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
This match. Since Thanksgiving. How many months is that? That's like a
5?
4-month build? Like
it's 3.
3, yeah, it's a 3 month.
Or no, 5. It's 5, sorry.
Like that's insane. And they only wrestled each other 2 times. Now look at WWE. Whenever they build a story, how many times do the guys actually wrestle each other before their big payoff match on pay-per-view? At least 5-6 times.
I always come back to this moment because I find it comical. Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. That feud was so dragged out and had so many matches in it that they had to literally call the final match of that rivalry.
Yeah.
They taglined it: Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, the final match or whatever.
Yeah.
They had to tagline it that because they had no idea how to progress the story and pace it out to make the final match feel like the final match. They had to just tell you, this is the final match. And then it was. After the match was done, Seth cuts a promo where he goes to the reporter and he says, "Oh, I don't even want to think about Rey Mysterio anymore. Now I'm on to Buddy." And it's like, okay, I guess you can end it like that. But the way that this feud ended was natural. They actually they paced it out right. So this felt like a real finale.
Yeah, and the dog collar stipulation was really great. Do you think they do another match? I don't know if they do a rubber match.
I think that it would be a mistake to do another match.
I agree. I think MJF's going to feud with Wardlow
right now.
Yeah.
The door is still open for them to come back to it, but right now it's Wardlow and MJF time.
I agree.
It seems. And I feel like after that's done, then he can come back to Punk and be like, "Hey, we have some unfinished business, Punky Brewster," whatever the fuck MJF wants to say, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, to me, this was match of the night, and I could put it up there with like the all-time great AEW matches I've ever seen. You know, with the build, the promo work, the entrances, the amount of blood in this was borderline uncomfortable.
I'd say this was like a perfect amount of blood.
Yeah.
I mean, this was reminiscent of Austin and Bret Hart to me.
Yeah, there was a lot of blood. I don't know. You have anything else to say on this match?
Loved the match.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have any complaints about it.
Yeah. Definitely killed the crowd, though. Definitely.
Well, it burnt them out.
Yeah.
It's like watching the climax to an Avengers movie and then being like, all right, time to pop into
So-
Hulk, and it's like, oh god.
What was the match that immediately followed this?
Britt Baker.
Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, it's like popping in Hulk after watching Infinity War. You're like, okay, I guess we'll watch this now.
So I think if Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa went on first, it legitimately could have stole the show because it would have had the crowd into it, and they would have been extra pumped for opening the show. It would have actually treated the belt a lot better too. And we have a new AEW Women's World Title in this match as well.
That's right.
It looks great, I think.
The AEW Women's World Title looks better than the men's world title and the women's, because they're the same, just different color. It looks better than every title in WWE right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Every title.
Yeah.
The women's world title in AEW looks
the only
now.
one that I think comes close to it is like the UK title. I think the UK title was gorgeous.
You're right, I forgot. I'd say the UK looks a little better, but the mainstream championships, this is better than everything the WWE has.
Yeah, so this is also a match that they've been building for quite a while. Right before the TBS tournament got started, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa had a lights out dark match a lights out unsanctioned match on AEW Dynamite. Actually, I think it was a year ago on St. Patrick's Day Slam. That was how long ago this was. And the match that they had legitimately turned Britt Baker into a superstar because of how much she bled and how great it was. I thought for sure that leading to this rematch for the world title, they were going to put this match on either first or last. And I think the fact that they didn't really hurt the match. Because the match was really good. I thought the match was really good. I don't really have any complaints about it. My only complaint about the match is the crowd. The crowd wasn't in it, and we didn't get a clean finish. And that really pissed me off.
Yeah, the crowd, I don't think, the crowd could not have been, the only thing that the crowd could have done to further ruin the match is if they started throwing stuff at them and like chanting random crap.
And it makes me mad.
No reaction at all from them.
Like obviously the crowd likes Thunder Rosa. They're gonna be kind of hot for Thunder Rosa, but Britt Baker is one of the biggest stars in the entire company. Like there was a couple months where she was the biggest star in the company when Kenny Omega was world champion, right? But this is before CM Punk debuted and Bryan Danielson debuted, right?
And Keith
So
Lee debuted.
I think Britt needs to lose the title and just kind of refresh her character. It's not that I'm tired of her title run. I just don't think there's anywhere else for her to go.
Yeah,
like if she beats Thunder Rosa, what does she gain from that? Who's she gonna face? You know?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's not. It's there's no point to continue it. Build someone else at this point, which it looks like they're gonna do with Rosa, anyways.
Yeah.
Next match was Moxley versus Danielson. I thought that this match was exactly what it needed to be.
I thought this match was awesome. The only problem was halfway through the match, the power went out.
That's right. The power.
Oh no! The power went out in the barracks right in the middle of the CM Punk match. So we were watching everything on my big TV, and then the power went out. So we were streaming it from my laptop. So we watched.
So before we watched this, I asked you, "Hey, how did you buy it?" And you told me, "Oh, I bought it on my phone, and I'm gonna stream it to my TV."
No, I was going to buy it on my phone.
And I told you, "Don't do that. Buy it on your laptop, and then you can HDMI it." And thank God I told him that, because otherwise we would have been huddled around his fucking phone watching this match.
Yeah, that would have been terrible.
Thankfully, we were able to watch it on the laptop, and we finished the Punk match, and it stayed that way up until the middle part of this match.
Yeah. So the power went out. We were watching it, and then when the power came back on, the fire alarm went off in our building. So we had to go outside and wait. So that took a lot out of the match for me. When we came back, that was when the waterworks started going, and there was a lot of blood.
Yeah, we came back and there was blood everywhere.
Yeah. And we continued it on my TV, but like, I don't think it's fair for me to assess this match because I wasn't really into it. From what I saw, it was awesome.
Yeah, because the point of this match was not to establish, oh, Bryan's better than Moxley, and Moxley's better than Bryan. It was to establish both of these men are ruthless. Both these men will make you fucking bleed, and they're setting up what looks to be a faction with Regal, where Regal slapped the shit out of them, and you know, it was like dad walking in on his two kids fighting, and he's like, what the hell are you doing, right?
Yeah. Where do they go from here? I think they actually do the tag team thing.
I agree.
And maybe their next move is to like recruit CM Punk to join them. And then we can finally get Punk versus Mox. I don't know. Everything's wide open right now. If they are officially a tag team, they should win the tag team titles. Because there's literally no reason that anybody in the tag team division can give to me that would make sense for them beating them. Not a single team.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know what I mean? I think if they lose at all to any tag team, it hurts them more than it helps anybody else. Yeah. Right? So that wasn't the semi-main, was it?
Semi-main was... What does AHFO even stand for?
Andrade Hardy Family Office.
And that...
So
versus Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin. And the only one thing that I have to say about this match is, holy shit, I thought that Sammy Guevara died.
Yeah, no, this match was awesome. Did this match change your opinion on Sammy Guevara?
I've never...
Because we both said like, well, he's talented, but I don't think he's a very good wrestler.
I never said he wasn't going to...
I mean, I've said that.
My only complaint with him is that most of the time he doesn't sell, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that this match changed my mind on him, because I don't think that he sold this. I think that he legit fucking hurt himself. He did a swanton off... So there were two tables, right? Stacked parallel, so the long ways were both facing the same direction. And he swantoned onto it, I believe. No, he did a Spanish fly onto it. And
smacked his forehead.
His body was on one table. His face was on the other. The table where his body was on broke, but the table where his head landed didn't break. He just smacked into it, and then he slid down, and the table turned, and he was just lying there. That happened about 15 minutes before the match ended, and I didn't see him for the rest of the match.
So I loved this match. I think, if any match was going to come close to stealing the show that wasn't the Punk MJF match, it was this match.
Oh, I forgot about Sting.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, the one takeaway that I get from this match is Seth Rollins is probably on his knees every single day thanking God that he didn't end Sting's career.
The entire time that Sting was setting up for that jump, you had your head in your hands and you were saying, "Don't do it."
No, I don't want to see Sting die. The man is 62 years old, and he jumped through 4 tables.
This match to me had spoiler alert. We're gonna talk about the Wyatt family versus the Shield at Elimination Chamber 2014.
Yeah, this
match had those vibes to me because 2 minutes in and they were already in the crowd, and they were there for like a majority of the match. And this match to me was Spot Fest done right. Because in a ladder match it's like they're trying to win, right? But in this match like there's no rules. They're just trying to kill each other. So the spots make a little more sense. They're just trying to hurt each other, and it's entertaining to watch that.
Yeah, I think Darby Allin, holy shit, man.
The day I will say that I'm going to say this right now. The day that Darby Allin wins the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, that will be looked at as one of the most important dates in wrestling history. This Darby Allin, CM Punk said it. Darby Allin is the fucking heart and soul of this company.
Yeah,
he goes out there and he proves it every single week. Everybody wants him to win it. Everybody knows that he's not right. Everybody is so in tune with Darby Allin. He knows how to get a crowd riled up.
I swear to God, you know how great it was for them to, lead to the Punk MJF match, dog collar match on pay-per-view. I swear to God, if Jeff Hardy comes in tonight and they say Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy next week on Dynamite, I'm gonna flip the table, because that is like their next pay-per-view is like their equivalent to WrestleMania. Yeah, Jeff Hardy, Darby Allin is a legitimate dream match. And my God, if they do that on free TV, how stupid could any of this company be?
Yeah.
Is there any other person that you want to see him wrestle other than Jeff Hardy? Like, they're basically the same person, but one is younger than the other one.
Yeah.
Like, that match would be insane.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
This was my second favorite match of the night, hands down. Lots of good spots in it. Like I said, Sammy looked like he died. From that alone, I was already invested in it. But then you throw on top, I have to watch Sting almost die, right? And that got me even more invested. The way that they stacked like 4 tables on top of each other, and Sting fell through all of them except for like the final one where his body just kind of slid off, and it was so hard to watch.
It was terrifying.
And then when Sting stood up, the crowd started chanting, "You still got it," over and over, and
he was like dead. He no sold the tables too, which was the greatest thing ever. He just dives through four tables.
There was 4 on top.
He dives through 4 tables and then just gets up, no sells. Yeah, it was awesome.
Hands down, my second favorite match of the night.
Yep.
Might surprise you, this was my favorite match of the night. The next one.
Oh, the main event?
The MJF match, that was my third favorite, yeah. The main event was my favorite match. This was highly anticipated. I was so red hot for Adam Cole to win this match. Ben can tell you. The second that this pay-per-view started, I made a prediction. Adam Cole is going to win the title tonight, and they are going to use that to set up for a Civil War storyline with the Elite, where Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks will be fighting against Adam Cole and Redragon, with Adam Cole being the champ, and the fight will be to see who the true leader of the faction is. Right?
Yeah.
I was so confident. I almost bet money on it because I was so confident it was going to happen.
Thank God you didn't.
Thank God I did, because I would have been dead wrong. Not only did Adam Page win this match, but he won very decisively, right? Beat Adam Cole with his own finisher, and then he used his own finisher as an exclamation point.
I think after the last couple of main events, right? So, like, how many times can we say, like, how many AEW pay-per-views have you even watched?
2.
This is your third, right?
Yes.
Right, so All Out was great. It was a great show, but, like, you know, the best match on the card wasn't the main event, because the main event was Christian versus Kenny Omega. The best match on that card was the Steel Cage tag team match. And then we get to Full Gear, and the main event was definitely hyped. It was Hangman versus Kenny Omega. Also great match, but it wasn't as good as the MJF Darby Allin match.
No.
This match was the closest in about a year that the main event match was the best match on the card.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And I think that says a lot about both of these guys.
Cole and Page in a ring together is like butter on toast.
Yeah, it's perfect. I would love to see a rematch. Don't know if they would do that. Big question now is what's next for Hangman Page, because he beat Adam Cole. The only logical choice would be Moxley, but I don't think he's going to face Moxley.
No, yeah.
MJF makes a whole lot of sense now.
But he's doing Wardlow.
But he's probably going to feud with Wardlow. Or maybe he'll feud with Wardlow and then face him at Double or Nothing, and then he'll win the title there. But,
yeah.
like, a lot of people were thinking that Hangman's, excuse me.
If there was
Hangman's title range is going to be really long. I disagree. I think he's done everything. He's cemented himself as a main event guy.
If there was ever a time for Wyndham to return, it would be now.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like, Eddie's occupied with Jericho, and vice versa. Moxley and Bryan are busy. The Elite's having a Civil War internal feud. Bryan's doing his own thing. Keith Lee didn't win the ladder match. Why would he be a main contender? Wardlow's feuding for the TNT title.
Unless they bring back Miro tonight,
which that would be cool.
And they set up for that match. He's a viable guy that could go after the title. They have a really loaded roster with a lot of guys that could go after the title. But oh my God, I want to see Bray Wyatt in AEW.
We're not
Wyndham Rotunda. Yeah.
Wyndham Rotunda is such a badass name. I love Bray Wyatt. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. He's my favorite wrestling character of all time. But Wyndham Rotunda is what I'm calling him.
So we saw a couple things during the course of the show. There were definitely some fireflies in the crowd. And at the end, in the main event, when the Dark Order came out, Hangman started pushing around a couple members of the Dark Order. Like, I'm not saying he turned heel or anything, but he wasn't, like, loving towards them like he normally is.
And also, the Dark Order... So, like, 10 minutes into the main event, Red Dragon came to the ring, and they were with Adam Cole the entire time. The Dark Order didn't come out to help Page until, like, 5 minutes before the match ended.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? So, like, Eric Redbeard, Rowan, whatever you want to call him, bringing him into the company is great because we get to see him. I love seeing him on TV. He's phenomenal.
His theme song's awesome. It's a Cannibal Corpse song, right?
No, it's not Cannibal Corpse. What was it? I can't remember the band.
Whatever it is, it's
some deathcore band.
It's an awesome song.
Yeah.
While we were listening to it, we were like, okay. When the chorus
but
hit.
To have him in the company, like, he's obviously not gonna stay with the Death Triangle.
No.
And is he a singles guy? He could be, but it doesn't make any sense. The storyline that does make sense is for him and Wyndham to come in and take over the Dark Order
and
feud with Hangman.
I've heard this on a few other podcasts where people say, oh, like, you have to keep in mind, right? If you're a wrestler looking to debut in AEW, why would you want to debut knowing that 2 weeks later Wyndham's going to show up and steal all of your spotlight, right? But that doesn't apply for Eric. If Wyndham shows up tonight, that does not take away.
That just doubles down on
exactly.
him.
That doesn't take away from Eric's debut last week. It builds up because
Now,
that means that he'll finally have a faction.
The one thing that would take away from his debut is if Braun Strowman debuted as well, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
because Braun is a legitimate draw, and I still to this day can't believe that WWE fired him.
I've been following Braun heavily, seeing what he's going. Braun seems very happy into bodybuilding right now and into doing his own wrestling thing.
I think he's having a great time on the. I think he's only gonna when he finally returns to the big leagues in wrestling, he's gonna be a megastar because he's only growing his stock on the indies by wrestling independent workers. Because he can learn to wrestle different styles.
Yeah, I don't know if you and me ever talked about this, but it's funny how Matt Cardona has not been on any major wrestling promotion for the past 10 years, and yet, or however long, and yet he feels like one of the biggest wrestlers in the world, right?
Oh my god, yeah. Okay. Matt Cardona, I'm saying it right now, has had the single greatest year in wrestling that in a long time.
And he only does
He's had a better year than Roman Reigns. He's had a better year than Hangman Page. Better year than Lashley, Lesnar, all of them. And he's wrestled on Impact a little bit. He had like a one-off on AEW.
Exactly. And
he's wrestled death matches.
And if Matt Cardona can be considered one of the best wrestlers on the planet doing nothing but indie work, then so can Braun, and I know that he'll do nothing but grow from it. So
plus the guys that he's paired with are EC3 and Killer Cross. Like, come on. Like, those are all main event guys. Yeah. Any wrestling company in the world would take him in a heartbeat. I really wanted to see Braun go to New Japan. I really wanted to see that. Braun would destroy everybody over there.
Braun would walk into the cities and the citizens would cry, "It's Godzilla!"
Yeah, he'd be a kaiju. Yeah,
I'd be terrified of him.
Brian Cage is another guy that could come back and challenge for the world title. Will Bray Wyatt show up in AEW? I don't know. Do I hope so?
At the time of him saying that, it is 7:50 p.m. So in 10 minutes, who knows? You could be proven right.
We could be proven right. Once again, I don't know. But overall, I thought the show was great. Was it the greatest AEW show of all time? Absolutely not. It was not. It wasn't the first Double or Nothing
I'm gonna quote Stephanie McMahon here. Revolution 2022, you were a B+. That's a good little spot for you, AEW. It was a B+ show for me. It was pretty good, but it's not the masterpiece that a lot of people out there are making it seem.
Yeah, so I'll say this: we remember WrestleMania X7 and WrestleMania 30 as like greatest WrestleManias of all time because like every match on the card was relevant and great, and then we remember WrestleManias like WrestleMania 25 and 28. Which had, maybe like 2 matches that were amazing that we'll remember forever. For me, the main event and the Punk match we'll remember forever. Yeah. The rest of the card is just like the rest of them I might remember. If this is the first step in Wardlow becoming a mega star, then we'll remember that he won a ladder match to get the TNT title shot. But like,
and if I never see Sammy wrestle again, then I'll remember his fucking head getting. But
overall, I would say it was a B+. It was a B+ show.
Yeah, it's a good little place for it. It was very good. Which it's sad to me that in the modern scene of today's wrestling world with WWE turns out B+ is a godsend. B+ is amazing because I'm used to D's and C- from WWE.
I'll say this: like Crown Jewel and Money in the Bank last year were 2 of the best shows I've seen from WWE in a very long time.
Yeah, that's nice and all, but they put on 12 shows a year,
which is just too many. Exactly. If WWE only put on 4 or 5 shows, like pay-per-view shows a year, I think it wouldn't even be a competition between them and AEW.
The only shows that need to happen are the Big 4 and arguably Money in the Bank, right?
They don't even Royal Rumble, just put Money in the Bank in WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. That's all that I. And if they want to throw in one wild card pay-per-view every year and change it around, 1 year we'll do the Elimination Chamber, 1 year we'll do Extreme Rules. That's fine. But why do you need 12?
The reason that they used to have the Money in the Bank ladder match as the first match at WrestleMania every single year. It was the tradition. It was the first match, right? And then they gave it its own pay-per-view. So they're like, well, we need another 6-man ladder match because it gets a lot of people on TV on the show. So they started doing the Intercontinental ladder match, and that was tradition. And then at WrestleMania 30, they were like, well, how can we get more people on the show to have more WrestleMania moments? And then they came out with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now, you tell me. It sounds like the stakes are getting downgraded every single time. You know, because it's not that winning the IC title means nothing. Like, I'll remember for the rest of my life Zack Ryder winning the IC title at WrestleMania 32. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But, like, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is essentially meaningless.
Now it is.
You know?
Well, there you go, guys. That was our review of AEW Revolution 2022. And now to transition on to the next part of our show, which I don't think will take as long. Do you have your top 10 list ready?
I do.
He does. All right. Am I going first or are you going first?
You can go first.
So heads up, right? These are not what either of us consider to be, well, it might be, the top 10 best wrestling matches. These are just our favorites, right?
We like, obviously we can't see the best of all time because, like, we haven't seen every single wrestling match.
And I'm prefacing my list with that because most of my list is WWE matches because I grew up with WWE. They're going to be my favorite matches, right? So just letting you know that, right?
I don't have any AEW matches on here.
Really?
None.
We'll have to talk about that in another episode. My number 10 favorite wrestling match of all time is the Firefly Funhouse match with Bray Wyatt and John Cena.
Is it one of the greatest creative storyline, whatever you want to call it, of all time? Yes. Is it a match? No.
It's not a match, but I don't care.
Yeah.
It's classified as a match.
I would put that as like the zero pick, like the honorable mention. Like it's not a match.
I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. I'm a guy who likes good writing. I like story. I like seeing character development, and this match is just one big critique of John Cena's entire career.
It's character assassination is what it is.
It's character assassination. Bray Wyatt is a fucking genius writer, storyteller. The way that he acts and this, I won't call it an episode. I'll what should I refer to it as? It's an episode of the Firefly Funhouse, right?
I guess. See, if they only did it once, if they would have done multiple of them, then we would have more of a basis on what we can judge.
But I like that they only did it once, though. I feel like it's a special. That's what makes it. That's what makes it my favorite. There's only one of them.
See, my big problem with that is like WrestleMania 36, right? Nobody remembers that WrestleMania except for the Firefly Funhouse match and the Boneyard match. I think the Boneyard match is better.
It's better. It's just.
I just think it's better.
It's better.
It's actually a match.
It might be better. It's not my favorite though.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of moments in this match that I like. I like the moment where Bray, because if any of you were lucky enough to watch my WrestleMania 30 video, right? I was disappointed that Bray Wyatt did not win his match against John Cena. Bray finally gets his revenge, right? Because in the WrestleMania 30 match, he tells John, "Finish me," right? He hands him the chair and he doesn't do it. In this match, Bray tells him, "Go on, John, do it. Do what you should have done do what you should have done 6 years ago." And John does it. He goes for the kill.
It's like a soft reboot / retcon of
Bray finally gets his revenge on John. He exposes him for being the corporate monster that he said he was back at WrestleMania 30.
Here's the problem though. If that match would have been, so if they never took the Universal belt off of Bray Wyatt, and that match would have been for the Universal title, I can only imagine how much better it would have been. Because they last minute took the belt off of Bray Wyatt and put it on Goldberg because they wanted him to face Roman at WrestleMania. If they would have had like the Firefly Funhouse Universal Championship match, I could think of ways to make it better. But I mean, besides the point. For what it was, I like it a lot.
It's not my favorite match. It's just my number 10 favorite match because it's one of a kind, and I've never seen anything like it, and I like that it retcons the WrestleMania 30 mistake.
Where would you rank it in, like, all of the cinematic matches that you've ever seen?
What are all the cinematic matches? Like the Boneyard match.
So like the Boneyard match, the Final Deletion, well, there's probably a lot that you haven't seen.
There's a lot I haven't seen.
So Sting and Darby Allin did one against Brian Cage and
There's a
Randy
lot.
Stark.
There's a lot that I haven't seen. You'll have to ask me that at a later date.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I think the best cinematic match for me is Edge versus Orton at Backlash. Because it was technically a cinematic match, but it was essentially just a regular wrestling match. But they took takes.
Would you consider? I'm remembering the Fiend versus Randy Orton at TLC. You wouldn't consider that cinematic, would you?
What, the Inferno match?
Yes.
No, there just weren't any fans.
I'm thinking back to that match right now, and I'm thinking, damn, that was a really good match. Nope, I'm staying with my final.
It was the best Inferno match of all time because he actually lit himself on fire.
Match was awesome. Bray Wyatt's just, I love Bray Wyatt.
All right, how do you want to do? Like, you give your number 10 and then I give my number 10?
Yes, and then we'll keep going down the list.
All right, my number 10 match is the Wyatt family versus the Shield at Elimination Chamber. What year? 2014.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've seen like faction on faction warfare and it never really lived up to the hype. Like AEW did the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle. They've done the Elite versus the Inner Circle.
Best friend.
It's cool. I think when you have a faction of 3 dudes, maybe 4 dudes, and they go up against another faction of 3 or 4 dudes, there's a lot more that you can do from like an in-ring standpoint that would make the show better. All right. I honestly think this is the single greatest trios tag match I've ever seen in my entire life.
I told you it was going to be good, right? You remember when you're making the list? I said, make sure to watch that.
Yeah.
And then...
and that's high praise coming from me because I love tag team wrestling. And for years I was like, well, no, I'd prefer like a 2-on-2 tag team match versus like a 3-on-3 tag team match. And after watching this, I still prefer, normal tag team match, but only because I don't think you can have Wyatt's versus the Shield every single week.
No.
I just don't think you can have that. Like there aren't how many times like if they bring like a trios division, then you could do it. But because they don't have a trios division, when you have special matches like this and they're actually good, it's a treat.
The fact that this like only this
happened. It only happened once.
No, it happened twice.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure that it only happened 2 times.
Because I know the Shield versus Evolution happened twice.
I
don't think
I didn't like those matches very much.
Yeah, because the Shield was too dominant.
Yeah.
Like the reason that this match was so good is because, like we all remember the Shield as like this dominant faction, like the greatest faction of all time, basically.
And then here comes Bray.
And then here comes Bray and his two hillbilly brothers. And they beat the shit out of him. And it, like, Roman Reigns was over as fuck in this match. Bray Wyatt, super over.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this was the match that truly cemented Roman as, like, the big dog. Fucking saves everybody, right?
Yeah.
By spearing, I think.
And I will say this, like, normally when it's like a 3-on-3 tag match, I prefer it to be like an elimination tag team match because I think it's fun. You can do a lot of story. I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. Right? There was a stretch there for a while when AEW was like, we're bringing tag team wrestling back on the map, and every single week they had like a 10-man tag team match, and it was terrible because it was just nothing but chaos. Like, so how like there's essentially no rules in tag team wrestling in AEW anyway. Like they don't have the tag rope,
yeah,
and shit like that. Just imagine that, but with 10 guys in the ring.
Oh god,
you know what I mean? It was horrible to watch. But I will stand by my opinion on that. This is the single greatest trios tag team match I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
So that's my number 10.
Okay. Number 9. Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson 2, the rematch.
So not the 60-minute draw.
Not the 60-minute match. I like this one because I think that their first match was perfect. But I don't see what the point was to dragging it out to the 60 minutes just to do it again in like 2 weeks.
So
the rematch to me is everything that the first match was, which is perfect, but it actually had the closure to it, right?
So I think the reason they did a draw the first time was just to, because they were like
just to show they could do it.
Not to show that they could do it, right? Because you could always they always could have done that, right? I think the reason that they did it was just there were a lot of doubters about Hangman. And I'm sorry if I call him Hangman just because I don't like calling him Adam Page because there's too many Adams in wrestling. But
Yeah.
Like, it really, to me, the 60-minute draw cemented Hangman is like, oh my god, this guy can go. This guy's amazing. He's just as good as Kenny Omega, if not better. You know what I mean? And having him go to a 60-minute draw with Bryan Danielson after Bryan Danielson had a 30-minute draw with Kenny Omega, and the last, he was in the main event of Mania last year, and his last match in WWE was against the biggest name in wrestling in the entire world, Roman Reigns. To me, it kind of put Hangman in that same breath. Okay. Now, on TV, they don't really push Hangman as like this end-all be-all great champion because he never opens the show and he never closes the show. He's always kind of like in the middle of the card. But they've always kind of done that in AEW.
Yeah, the last time that I think Adam Page, again, right, you call him Hangman, I call him Adam Page. The last time that Adam Page, I think, ended the show was the Kenny Omega blood contract signing.
Yeah,
and the night after he won the championship. Because he
he opened the show that night. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Those are the only two times that he opened or closed the show.
Yeah, but then when he did that, it made him feel like a big deal. I don't know why
he hasn't done it since.
I don't know why they don't do it. I guess they try and like reserve the main event slot for wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But there's not a whole lot to say about this match. It's everything that I said about Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at 25 being just a perfectly done display of two wrestlers in their prime at the peak of performance, doing everything perfectly. That's what this match is to me.
Yeah,
and it's with Bryan Danielson, the best technical wrestler on the planet. Adam Page, one of the most underrated wrestlers on the planet, arguably. Would you say that he's in like the top 5 best wrestlers on the planet?
Hangman, yeah.
Yeah. There's not much more to say. It's a perfect wrestling match, and it's very long.
Yeah, but like Bryan Omega, Roman, Page, Adam Cole.
That's a fair list, yeah. So okay, you're number 9.
Drew McIntyre's barely on the list. Yeah. Right. All right. This is where I'm cheesing it a little bit.
You have 2?
I have 2. All right. Now I wanted to put this one way higher, but upon rewatch, I like the other matches slightly more than this match, all right? And that is Walter versus Ilya Dragunov, 1 and 2.
Did we watch both or just?
We watched both. So the first match is absolutely fucking mental brutal.
Which is the one where he beats him with a chop, or is it both?
That's a different match. That's the Ciampa match.
You're right.
Which that match is also awesome, but that match is not on my list.
I like how we watched that match. It was literally just because like I was watching.
No, we were watching Raw, and it was like
we were watching Raw, watching Ciampa, and I said, I would love to watch Ciampa fight Walter. Has he ever done it? And you did the slow turn, and you said, oh yeah, and then we immediately turned off Raw and watched that match, and it was amazing.
Yeah. So which match do I think is better? I think the second match is better. Because there's a better story. The first match,
Dragunov won the second match, right?
He won the title in the second match.
Okay.
This is for the NXT United Kingdom Championship, by the way. So the first match was in front of 0 fans, and if you've never seen it, there's actually a full match length commentary on YouTube where like Wade Barrett, Shawn Michaels, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, they're all like commenting on the match while they're watching it. And you got to think of like Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are 2 of the toughest guys in WWE. And to see them like on the edge of their seats squirming when Dragunov and Walter are chopping the shit out of each other is it says a lot about the match. So the first match is great. I think it's the single most brutal and violent wrestling match I've ever seen that didn't involve like chairs and thumbtacks and stuff like that. Like just a regular rules wrestling match. Like this is the most violent match I've ever seen in my entire life. That
was I had never seen a Walter match before this, and
that was the first time I showed
you got me into Walt. Before meeting Ben, I never really cared about NXT, and then he started showing me NXT matches, and I regret not watching it when it was in its prime because that Walter match, like being introduced to his signature chop.
It's like he's a big baby and he chops people.
And watching Dragunov's chest just become
it turned blood red because it was gushing blood.
Yeah.
All right. And then the second match I like a little bit more. Now the second match is not as violent, but it's definitely more technical. It was in front of fans, and the story was beautiful. Right? Because they already established that Dragunov isn't the guy that quits. You know what I mean? And he can take a shit ton of punishment. And then in the second match, it ends with Dragunov tapping Walter out.
How did he tap him out? What was the submission?
Pretty sure he put him in like a...
It was a back submission, you're right.
I think it's called. I can't remember if it was like a Steiner recliner or... I can't remember.
Whatever it was, yeah, you're right.
But Walter tapped out, and the end shot is Dragunov is like they do the David and Goliath thing when Dragunov has one foot on Walter and he's holding up the title.
Yeah,
and it's perfect. It's a perfect story, and I think you could show these two matches to anybody, literally anybody, and they wouldn't know if it was real or fake.
Yeah.
Like, and that says a lot about the match.
My favorite part is where it's I don't remember which match it's in. It might be in both, but Dragunov is on like the top rope and Walter chases him up there and he starts smacking him. And the way that he's smacking him, it looks like a dad like disciplining his kid. Yeah, he's just fucking smacking him over and over. And like you said, right, it looks so real. It's like it's like a dad spanking his kid, and you're like, holy shit, he's hitting him really fucking hard.
I like the parts in the first match where like he just bends him over the top turnbuckle and then chops him in the throat, and then he like just kicks him over, and then he sleeper suplexes him.
Yeah, the way that Walter wrestles, Walter looks like he hates everybody that he wrestles. Like every move that he does to his opponent, it looks personal. Where he's like, "Fuck you,
devastating.
Fuck you," chops you. Like he just hates everyone.
No, he sleeper suplexes him on the outside. Dragunov lands completely on his head. And then he gets him in the ring, and then Walter just kicked him in the back of the head. He just
Walter doing a fucking kick is brutal.
The more we talk about wrestling on this podcast, you're gonna come to realize that like I think Walter is a perfect wrestler.
I'm pretty sure that Ben wants to fuck Walter.
He is legitimately a perfect wrestler.
He's a big walking rectangle.
Yeah. There, in my opinion, there is literally nobody, absolutely nobody in the entire WWE that could even come close to beating Roman Reigns, except for Walter.
I would second that.
Yeah.
I would have said Killer Cross, but they ruined him, so whatever.
They ruined Killer Cross on night one. But yeah. Anyway.
Moving on though, my number 7 favorite match of all time. And before you say anything, let me finish this though, because I know this is not common. AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series 2016, and no, I think that we can agree this is a great match, right? But it's one of my favorite matches for one simple reason. I was in the crowd at that match. I flew to Houston and I watched that match, and me and my mom were big AJ Styles fans, and we watched AJ get fucking pounded into the wrestling mat when he had the calf crusher locked in. And I'll never forget my mom turning to me and saying, "Oh my god!" Like she was so worried for him. I thought that match was amazing because. Like I expected AJ to get completely stomped by Brock, and they actually gave AJ the respect that he deserves, and they put on a very good, very believable match. Brock was selling the calf crusher. I will stand by this. Brock Lesnar is one of the best sellers in modern wrestling. When Brock Lesnar,
I would go further on that. When Brock history,
Brock Lesnar is screaming, you really believe that like this dude is in agony, and then Brock will sell something for like 15 minutes. Like you put him in an ankle lock, right? He will limp for the remainder of the match. Mm-hmm. You believe that Brock is being hurt in the match, and he makes it, AJ loses the match, but he made AJ feel like this guy took Brock to his limits, right? It was very tough deciding between this and Bryan.
See, I really like this pick. But the only part that I remember of it is AJ Styles getting his head smashed in.
Like I said,
but I like the Bryan match more. That's just
I understand. I think that the Bryan match is better. I was gonna say it was tough deciding between this and Bryan, but I went with this because I was there in person. It has that factor for me. I love this match.
All right, so my number 8 pick.
No, we're on 7, right? Because number 8 had 2.
Oh yeah. Well, I did 11 matches then.
Whatever.
All right, there. I guess you could call them tied. So. My number 8 match, this is controversial. I think it is one of the greatest matches ever in wrestling, and it's the single most important match in wrestling history, if you ask me. And that is Bret Hart versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13.
Is that the one you showed me?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's why I think it's the most important match. who is the biggest draw, biggest superstar, greatest champion in the history of wrestling?
Steve Austin.
I don't think Steve Austin becomes that without this match.
Okay.
Right? Now, obviously, he'd won King of the Ring at that point. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. He was a heel. This match, to me, is the epitome of perfect selling, booking. It goes to show that no matter what the stipulation, you can make it work, because it was a submission match, if you remember. And this is a perfect double turn, where Steve comes in as a heel, walks out as a babyface. Right, the selling from them coming out of the ring to when they go back.
The image of Steve Austin being locked in the sharpshooter with blood drenching his face and in a puddle of blood beneath him in the sharpshooter and him limply tapping out.
He didn't tap. He passed.
No, that's right. You're right. That's even better. Yeah, it was horrifying. Beautiful.
Yeah, no, like it's perfect storytelling, and honestly, like Steve Austin. I'm pretty sure he said this himself. Like, Steve Austin would not have become a big of a superstar without that match. So I think it's the most important match in wrestling history. Is it my favorite? It's definitely my favorite submission match. I think it's the best Steve Austin match, and I also think it's the best Bret Hart match, which is saying something, because he's had a lot of great matches. But that's my number 8.
I was mistaken, by the way. This is my number 7.
Okay.
10, 9. AJ was 8. My number 7 favorite match of all time. This one might have a little bit of nostalgia to it, but I stand by. This match is amazing. The story was amazing. John Cena versus CM Punk, Money in the Bank, 2011. Do I really need to explain much more? This was I mean, the months of promos beforehand where CM Punk was just taunting the authority of WWE, saying, "Hey, you're all gonna fucking bow down at my feet. Give me whatever I want, or I'm gonna leave this company and I'm gonna take your fucking title." It it was Money in the Bank. Like, they didn't say this. I don't know. It's just something about them going this hard for a Money in the Bank match. Like, it's just beautiful, right?
I think that was the first.
You've got John Cena, who, if he doesn't win this match, he's gonna get fired. If Punk wins, then he's gonna walk away with the fucking title. And then on top of that, the match is amazing. It's just, I don't even know what to say about this match. Just the story was so fucking good.
It was the first 5-star match in WWE in years.
It's a beautiful match. It's beautifully well.
I think it's perfect with flaws and everything, with the botches and everything that happens in the match.
I don't even remember the botches.
Exactly.
I rewatched this match. I was so
the biggest takeaway from the match is the crowd, though. Right? You've only heard crowd responses like that maybe 3 other times.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think the closest comparison we can make to this match, and by the way, this match is on my list
because it deserves to be on there. Don't spoil it. Gotta keep it a surprise.
Okay, well, this match is on my list. The closest match we can compare it to that didn't end up being on my list, but it was very hard. I was fighting between this one and the Punk match, was the RVD John Cena match from One Night Stand 2006.
You're right. Yeah.
Very similar atmosphere.
And the fact this match was in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, the matches were very similar, where John Cena goes in as a babyface, but he's the undisputed heel, and he plays up to it. And this was in the Super Cena 5 Moves of Doom era of John Cena, and he still wrestled a 5-star match.
It's right, he was awesome in this match.
Right? So yeah, I have no problem with that.
I know that I harp on John Cena being, oh, he's just a goody two shoes babyface, right? But I love that he loses this match being a good guy, right? Vince is gonna call it, and then he gets out. Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. Let me fight this out my way. Let me do it the right way, and then immediately loses because he did that, right?
Yeah.
I love that little touch in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my number 7 match is Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, I forget which one, versus Kurt Angle.
Okay.
Holy shit, this match is awesome. Have you ever seen it before?
I have not. We'll have to
I think it's 23 or 22 or 21. One of those.
We'll have to watch it. I'm a big Kurt Angle fan.
All right. So basically the story of this match is like Shawn Michaels is just naturally gifted at everything. Like, he can grapple with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's an Olympian. Yeah. And just the fact that, like, every time he gets a hold on Shawn Michaels is able to like kind of get out of it somehow, but like by being a little chicken shit, to the point where like halfway through the match, Kurt Angle just stops giving a shit, starts like slapping him in the face, and then he almost loses immediately. Ends with the ankle lock, and this is the match where you like to say facial expressions in a match. This is one of the greatest facial expression matches that Shawn Michaels ever wrestled. Like he's in the ankle lock and he's just like you know.
Yeah, and I can imagine it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the greatest technical wrestling matches I've ever seen.
Better than Bryan and Brock?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes, 100%. Bryan and Brock isn't even on my list.
I might be thinking of a different match. Sorry, go on.
But if you haven't watched the match, definitely go watch the match. You and I will definitely be watching this match in the future.
Yeah, I do want to watch
because it's oh, it's so good. I can't even like describe it other than like the story of the match just makes you laugh because it's like cocky DX Shawn Michaels and
gifted
Olympian Kurt Angle that's like, I worked for everything I got, you piece of shit.
The modern day equivalent would be, which I don't know if it's happened, but I want to see Gable versus Rollins.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
And that kind of dynamic, you know, where Rollins is just I don't need to try. I'm just as good as you, and Gable's the Olympian. You know. Speaking of which, okay. my number 6 favorite match: Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. So initially going. So when I made this list, I broke the rule once, but I said, okay, only one of each type of match, right? So like CM Punk, okay, I only want one CM Punk match. I only want one of this match. And I only want one Roman Reigns match, right? Initially, it was a 3-way tie between this, the Jey Uso Hell in a Cell match, and the Edge Money in the Bank match, right? You and me need to watch the Edge Money in the Bank match again sometime, because that match is really good. Yeah. This match and the Seth Rollins match was really close, but the Seth Rollins match, this is the only instance that I can ever think of in a wrestling match that uses psychological fucking warfare, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
This is just this is the story of a brother of a brother knowing his brother so well that he just uses all of his own mental insecurities and weaknesses against him, right? The way that Seth Rollins plays off the whole like Roman, like
I'll always love you, bro.
You know what this was to me? This was a complete reversal of the Jey Uso match, because the Jey Uso match was Roman beating up his brother, and the brother is defiantly saying "fuck you" back to him. This was Roman beating up his brother, and his brother's just laughing at him the whole time, just fucking put him there, brother. So the whole time.
I can't help but draw a comparison.
This is like watching Batman beat up Joker in The Dark Knight.
No, I can't help but. So, it's never really happened at like a stage as big as this. But picture Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi.
Yeah.
And it's like this, with Kenny Omega joking around, like, holy shit, how crazy would that be?
You're right, yeah.
You know what I mean? No, obviously the match wouldn't end in a total fucking botch,
and
with the ref placing Seth Rollins' hand on the rope.
I
like the match more for what happens after the match than during the match. I think the greatest near fall in wrestling history happens in this match.
Yeah, the botch doesn't really matter that. Like, obviously it takes away from it in some regard, but it doesn't ruin the match for me, because the botch doesn't change the outcome. The outcome of the match was always going to be Roman chokes Seth out and keeps him there because fuck you, he fucking deserves this. I gotta choke him out. Right? Like it was always going to end that way.
Yeah.
So the hand doesn't really.
Now let's talk a little bit about match place or card placement a little bit. We were talking about it earlier. So like, this match opened the show.
That's right.
Along with one of my favorite matches of all time that we're going to talk about, opened the show. And a lot of people were like, well, why would you ever want to go on first? Like, the main event is the spot. I'm like, you can steal the show on the first match. After this match, I didn't care at all about the rest of the pay-per-view, because it just sucked. And maybe the matches weren't that bad. It's just they were so far down in quality compared to that match.
Yeah, the best way that I could describe why this match is so good is this match had like no momentum going into it, right? Like there was people
weren't even excited for it.
Like there was like the whole generic, Seth Rollins has never lost to Roman Reigns, so I guess that's something, right? going into this match, there was no momentum, and then immediately Seth employs psychological warfare.
The Shield music
plays
hits.
the Shield theme, goes in, dodges everything that Roman does, is beating the shit out of him for like 15 minutes straight. The crowd was so red hot for Seth Rollins. They've never done this up until now. Now it's like a trademark. When he was setting up for the curb stomp, he's stomping his feet. The crowd began chanting, "Burn it down!" I was under the impression that everybody in the world loved Roman Reigns in his title run, but apparently everybody in that arena was red hot, ready for Rollins to win it right there, because the match was so good, and he was so good as like the Joker in that match. They wanted Rollins to win right then and there. When Rollins hit that buckle bomb
and then the curb stomp,
you and me jumped out our seats. We're like, "That's it, it's over," and we were fucking ready for it. You and me wouldn't have been upset at all if he had won there. That's how good that the match was. Seth Rollins turned a nothing who gives a shit match into, holy crap, am I watching The Dark Knight? Like, this is fucking beautiful. Yeah. I'm watching an older brother beat up his younger brother who doesn't give a shit because he's just having fun tormenting him and poking fun at him and making him be mad. So,
that's a good pick.
Yeah, 6th favorite match of all time.
My number 6 is The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25.
Okay.
We've already covered this match in our podcast, all right?
It's kind of funny because my number 5 is the flip of that go on.
Yeah. We've already covered it's a perfect match.
All the reasons that I liked Paige and Bryan, too.
Yeah, there's literally no reason to go over it because we've gone over it before in our podcast. Everybody's seen this match. It's kind of like the quintessential, like, perfect wrestling match. Yeah. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. All right, you go ahead.
My number 5 favorite match, Triple H versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 27. All the same reasons. It's a perfect wrestling match, but with the added brutality of a no-holds-barred stipulation, and it sets up for the... Whereas Shawn and Undertaker 25 didn't necessarily set up for a rematch, this match does set up for a rematch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's literally it.
Okay. My number 5...
that was your number 6?
Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6. My number 6 match.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. This was my number 5 match. You're like 1 ahead of me.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, so DIY versus the Revival take over Toronto.
I've seen that match.
So the Revival, if you watch AEW, that's FTR when they were in WWE. DIY is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa when they were a tag team. I've watched a lot of tag team wrestling. I have literally never seen a better tag team match than this match. It is a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match. And it is perfect. Everything is perfect from beginning to end. You want to talk about good hot tags, good technical wrestling. It's phenomenal. I guess I gotta cut one of these out then.
That's fine, whatever, screw it. It's probably, it's because you have 2 that count for 1, so you're, like, confusing yourself.
I did have 11 matches on here. Alright, well, my honorable mention at this spot in the list is John Cena versus Punk at Money in the Bank 2011.
Okay.
Because that's right around the same
And yeah, for all the reasons that I said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said my number 5 was Triple H and Undertaker 27. My number 4 favorite match of all time, Shield versus Wyatt Family, Elimination Chamber 2014, for all the reasons that you said, plus the fact that I'm the biggest Bray Wyatt fanboy on planet Earth. Like, that bumped it up to number 4 automatically for me.
Big facts.
Yep.
All right, my number 4, you're going to love this.
Yep.
Edge versus Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22. It is the hardcore match.
Ooh.
Okay, you've seen this one, right? I showed it to you.
I've seen clips. I never watched the full thing.
Okay, so basically this was right after Edge was, slotted in the main event and cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. He was the WWE champion for like 3 weeks, and then they took the belt off of him right before WrestleMania season. So he was kind of drifting down the card, and then Mick Foley was also kind of ready to retire / drifting down the card, but he never really had his WrestleMania moment. So Edge and Mick Foley decided, okay, what can we possibly do to A, steal the show, and B, confuse everybody into thinking that we're having a good wrestling match. And they decided to have a hardcore match at WrestleMania, which is one of the most brutal matches ever to be on WrestleMania.
I mean, like you just say Edge versus Mankind and automatically.
No, it wasn't Mankind. It was just Mick Foley.
Sorry. Well, either or, you automatically know it's going to be brutal.
So like, this actually led to the two. I can't remember if it was before this or after this, where the two actually formed a tag team and faced Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk at ECW One Night Stand, which was also very brutal and it has the greatest pinfall of all time. When Edge pins Beulah McGillicuddy by literally fucking her into the ground, But anyway, this match at WrestleMania, basically, Edge takes the thumbtack spot. There's a lot of blood. There's barbed wire. The ending of the match is Mick Foley getting speared through a burning table. It's just an all around good time. It's my number 4 of all time. I love it.
So that was your number 4.
Yeah.
And my number 4 was, Okay, my number 3 favorite match of all time. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 3.
Okay.
I don't even need a reason why this is one of my favorite matches of all time. There's a reason why WWE starts off every show by showing the clip of the Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant Power Slam, right? I understand this is not like the best match of all time, right? It's not. This match is not a display of wrestling brilliance like Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker. It's not a gore fest. This match is a dawning of an era, right? This match was the quintessential first ever. I'm trying to think of like a phrase to coin it, right? This was the first ever main event. This was the first ever true main event, right? From this match onwards, matches only got better. This match was the beginning of modern wrestling. In my opinion.
I feel like
a lot of the tropes that we see in wrestling nowadays began with this match.
I feel like this was the match that kind of like broke wrestling and turned it into sports entertainment from a standpoint that like literally everybody knew Hulk Hogan, everybody knew Andre the Giant. And then when Hogan slammed the Giant at WrestleMania 3, it was like the shot heard around the world. Where now WWF was global, instead of just like the northeastern territory.
It's like I said in my video, right? Wrestling had stayed in the realm of realism for so long. So given that Andre the Giant had not lost in 3 years straight, it's like okay, he's winning, and then WWE said, nope, this is wrestling. We can write our own stories, and we want to tell a story about David versus Goliath, and they did it beautifully. It's like I said, it's not the best match ever, but it's my 3rd favorite match of all time, purely for what it did for wrestling and what it represents.
Yeah, I personally can't watch a Hulk Hogan match unless it's against The Rock at WrestleMania 18. I think he's boring. I think he's terrible at his job. No, that's not true. I can watch the Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan SummerSlam match.
You like the image that I sent you of if your friend has never seen wrestling, then send them this image, and it's Shawn Michaels standing on his head straight up in the air.
All right, so my number 3 match is a recent match.
How recent? Let me see if I can guess it.
Okay, I think it's the second best Hell in a Cell match of all time.
Recent?
Yes, my favorite.
Edge versus Shawn Michaels, or no, Edge versus
Rollins.
Yeah,
that match was awesome.
But it's not that. Okay.
My 3rd favorite match is Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So the main purpose of having Roman Reigns go against Jey Uso was to cement his heel turn.
Yeah.
And then when they actually found out that Jey Uso is great and he's a really, really good charismatic babyface, they decided to run it back. All right. Now we watched both of their matches. The Night of Champions match is amazing. It's perfect. It's as close to perfect as you can get, right?
And the Hell in a Cell match just makes it better because
the Hell in a Cell match makes it better because of how they built to it. And this was when they still do it, but like this is when WWE was like, oh, it's freaking September, time to do Hell in a Cell. Let's just put these two people in Hell in a Cell. And they essentially made it a meaningless stipulation. Well, this match comes along. Not only is it a Hell in a Cell match, but it's also an I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell. And they use a strap. So it's essentially an I Quit match, a Hell in a Cell match, and a strap match all in one. And the amount of taunting that Roman Reigns does
It's like
to Jey Uso during this match.
It's like you said on episode 1, right? Like, I feel like Roman Reigns did his homework and watched Triple H in the Hell in a Cell.
And it's absolutely, it's definitely an emotional watch, because you realize, like, he's doing this to his own family.
Yeah.
For a belt, and just to prove a point.
For a belt, and just to sit slightly to the left at the fucking dinner table.
Yeah. All right, so there's that aspect of it, and then you have the memorable moments, right? So I think Roman hits the best spear he's ever hit on anybody in this match, and you know exactly which one I'm talking about. He just like leaps without his arms out, and just kills Jey Uso. Jey Uso gets speared like 3-4 times within the first like 10 minutes of the match, and he doesn't quit. They both do like the pass out choking spot in the match, and then it ends with, Roman is literally about to kill his cousin with a set of steel steps.
Holding this. It's not even that he's holding the steel steps up that sells it for me. It's that Jey is on the ground, right, arms outstretched, and Roman is like straddling him with the steel steps pressed up against his neck, and he's like whispering in his face, like telling him quit right now, and Jey doesn't do it.
No, I'm the bad guy. Well, no, your kids are watching. My kids are watching.
You miss it, right? Yeah. Right before Roman stands up and holds the steel steps overhead, he's holding it to Jey's neck, and he like whispers, "Okay. All right." That's how he wants to do it. Like it's like Roman just said, "Fuck it, fuck everything." All right, that's how you want to do it. And then he stands up and holds it up, and then he says, "I swear to God, I'll end you right." He's holding it, right?
And then Jimmy comes in and covers him, and then you get that, "Whatever you're going through, man, we got you. I love you."
Whenever Roman Reigns inevitably begins acting, he's going to be phenomenal, because the dude just cries on command at the moment that Jimmy starts telling him that we're here for
ending,
you.
if this would have been in front of fans, it probably would have been my number 1 match of all time, right? The ending, he chokes out Jimmy Uso just to get his cousin to say "I quit," and then he goes up the stairs and gets the lay from the Wild Samoans. The only thing that would have made it better is if they have one of the Wild Samoans, and then the other one is Rikishi, so that he essentially goes up to get a lay from Jay and Jimmy's dad. And if it was in front of live fans, oh my God, that's the only thing I could ever even think about adding to it. Is a perfect match.
Yeah.
Perfection.
Again, it was, when I say really close, like it could have been a coin flip. It was either Jey Uso, Edge at Money in the Bank, or Rollins at Royal Rumble. It was really close picking one Roman match, but
and for a guy who's like myself, who's definitely like been of the opinion that WWE doesn't give a shit about Hell in a Cell anymore, and their stipulations are essentially meaningless. For me to say like, a 2020 Hell in a Cell match is like my favorite
without an audience.
Yeah, without an audience, that's high praise. Roman Reigns is incredible.
When WWE hits it, they really hit it hard.
All right, what's your number 2?
Speaking of which, I guarantee that you can guess this match. You can't guess this match.
Is it a WrestleMania match?
Yes.
It's 25, right?
What? No.
WrestleMania 25?
Why would it be
Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker?
Why would that be my favorite match? No.
This is your second favorite.
Why would that be my second favorite? Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista, WrestleMania 30. I made an entire 40-minute long fucking documentary about this WrestleMania in particular. How could I not pick this match as one of my top 3 favorite matches of all time, right? Like, it doesn't even matter what the match quality was like. That's a lie, right? Because the match quality was great. It was fantastic, right? I would argue that this is the most red hot that the audience has ever been for a person to win ever. Bigger than Mick Foley, hands down. The vocal reactions of commentator Michael Cole when Bryan finally... Because keep in mind, right, just the fucking years worth of torment that Bryan went through at the hands of Triple H, where they're just telling him, "You're a fucking joke, you'll never be anything," right? He's the world's biggest underdog, going from that to becoming an underling of the Wyatt family, to overcoming them, to going right back to Triple H, beating him up, to having to beat his boss in the opening of the show, to having Triple H interfere with this match. He's put into a fucking stretcher, and he kicks off the stretcher, throws off his neck brace, and he's crawling, clinging on to dear life to get back in the ring. and he's finally able to get Batista into that submission lock. And the way that Michael Cole is just screaming into the mic, "Come on, Brian! Come on, Brian! Tap out Batista! Tap out!" And when he fucking taps out, the crowd just explodes. Just fucking explodes. It is the most cathartic experience that you could ever have, right? It's like, it's cathartic now watching it. Imagine being me, 14 years old, watching this unfold over the course of 3 years, being a Daniel Bryan fan ever since his debut, and finally seeing him win that championship in a fantastic match like that, and holding both those belts triumphantly, with fireworks going off behind him. There will never be a more cathartic thing in my entire life, I don't think. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And the match quality itself was amazing. It was an amazing match, right? They really sold this idea that Bryan is clinging on to dear fucking life just to stay in this ring. Like,
not to mention the main event.
There's never been a match where the audience participation, like, I'm fully convinced that the audience watching the show thought, oh, if I get louder, then it's going to give Bryan more power, right?
Yeah.
Bryan was leeching off the audience in order to stay into the match. That's honestly the vibe that it
I never really thought about it like that.
The audience was like,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like there's a if you've seen the Monster promo, right? Daniel Bryan versus
Yeah.
There's a quote in that promo where Bryan says, "Fucking with these people I am stronger than ever," right? Mm-hmm. Showing that promo beforehand and that quote, the audience really thought, "Oh, we're the reason why he's still in the fight. If we're louder, then maybe he'll win." And there's never been a more louder, arguably Punk returning is just as loud.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so my second favorite match is the same match as your number one match.
Which you already know what it is, yeah.
Which is The Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 28.
Really?
Inside Hell in a
That's your
Cell.
number 2 favorite match now?
It's my number 2 favorite match of all time.
Well, I'm glad that I could enlighten you.
If you missed our first episode of the podcast, we literally talked about this the entire video. And about The Undertaker versus DX, essentially, the end of the Era saga. I think it's a perfect ending for that. It is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. And the storytelling, the fact that it, like, obviously the storytelling in the match is great, but it was the culmination of essentially a 4-year story in one match. And I think it might have been like the last, until Rollins versus Edge, it was the last time that Hell in a Cell was actually used properly as a feud ender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As a feud ender, yeah, you're right.
What do you have to say on the match, since it's your number one?
Yeah, it's my number 1 favorite match of all time. I know what your number 1 is, but I'll let you say a bit for that. Again, right, there's not much more that I could say about it that wasn't said in the first episode, but the best way that I can summarize it is that you are watching 2 aging sheriffs and
gunslingers.
You're watching 2 aging gunslingers try to fucking murder each other while their best friend that has equal respect for both of them has to call it down the middle, and it's tearing him apart emotionally, and Triple H refuses to. Every single kick out is not a triumphant, "No, I'm still in this." It's a, "I am barely alive. I only have enough energy to move my shoulder and continue breathing." That's why I kicked out. I'm not kicking out because I'm only kicking out just to say, "Fuck you. You don't get the win," right? Until eventually, like I told you, my favorite moment in the match, Triple H using the sledgehammer like a cane. Shawn Michaels goes to help him. He goes, "Get the fuck off me," and pushes him away. Undertaker like touches him. He's like, "Get off me." And then he's just standing in the corner, just huffing, just glaring at him, just going, "Fuck you, fuck all of you." And then finally he's like, "Fuck it," gives the DX sign, right? And then finally we get the final tombstone, and then they walk out of there.
Yeah.
The audience didn't give a shit who won. They were just so into the match, and they were so happy to see them all walk out of there. Okay, you know.
Yeah. So my number 1 match, I believe, would you say it's the match that like kind of got you into NXT?
Yes.
Okay. So my number 1 match is Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa at TakeOver Chicago, the street fight. This match was so important for me, it was so important for me that I had to show Aaron the video, like the match.
You showed me the entire feud,
and I showed him the entire feud because it just doesn't hit the same. Like you could show him, any of the matches and he'd be like, oh, it's great. But like I said, it's a culmination of a feud and the boundaries that they push. Now, boundaries not necessarily meaning, oh, well, there's a lot of blood and there's a lot of profanity or anything like that. The boundaries of this is uncomfortable to watch because we have a man ripping off his ex-best friend's wedding ring, spitting on it, and throwing it into the audience, and then getting slammed through 2 tables. The ending is Johnny Gargano handcuffs Ciampa and literally tries to kill him. And then the best part to me is the finish.
I would say that
the best part is the finish because throughout the course of the match they rip up the wrestling mats and everything to where there's just wood, in the ring. And the ending of the match is just Ciampa, you son of a bitch, sneaking away with the victory, because he's got Johnny in the ropes. Johnny's literally beating the shit out of him, and then with his hands handcuffed behind his back, he gets a hold of Johnny's neck and DDTs him on the wood, and then rolls over to pin him. And he has to scream at the referee to count the pin because the referee is so uncomfortable with what he's just seen.
He's rolling over like a fucking worm, just screaming.
Dad! Yeah,
yeah, and the ref's like, really? I have to call this?
I don't think there's ever been better storytelling in wrestling than this feud.
I would,
and I know that's a controversial statement.
I would say that it's equal to my number.
Yeah, one. And I know that's a controversial statement to say. Maybe for a lot of guys that just weren't into NXT, I know Aaron was never really into NXT until I showed him this,
and by then it was too late.
Yeah,
I didn't know what I had until it was gone.
There's a lot of other matches from NXT that I really wanted to put on here. Some honorable mentions were Tommaso Ciampa versus Walter, of course. Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano at TakeOver New Orleans, which was the match that they had right before this, which was a regular match.
Yeah, and
it was just as good, but this one was more brutal. And then the honorable mention that I wanted to put was it's actually Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole in what is essentially a 3 Stages of Hell match. I can't remember what TakeOver it was at. Right? And the match that I erased in order to put a couple of these matches on here was Sasha Banks versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn and TakeOver Respect. I didn't put those on. But these are all, I would count all of them in my number one because I love NXT matches. I think NXT, to this day, is the greatest wrestling promotion to ever have existed.
Yeah, it's a pretty widely considered. Yeah, it's widely accepted.
But yeah, that's my top 10. If you've never watched any of these matches and you want some recommendations, we can all go down our list one more time.
Yeah,
Wyatt's versus the Shield, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov, both of them. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, I believe, is 20. It's one of the WrestleManias. I can't remember which one. There's a lot of WrestleManias. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. DIY versus The Revival, TakeOver Toronto. CM Punk versus John Cena, Money in the Bank 2011. Edge versus Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at Hell in a Cell. Undertaker versus Triple H, Mania 28. And Ciampa versus Gargano at TakeOver Chicago. That's my list.
That was Ben's top 10. And my top 10,
it's actually top 12. But
bottom up, starting at 10, is the Firefly Funhouse match. Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson, Part 2. Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles at Survivor Series. Money in the Bank 2011, Punk and Cena. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble 2022. Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 27. Shield versus the Wyatt Family at Elimination Chamber 2014. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan at Mania 3. Bryan, WrestleMania 30, the triple threat match. Yep. You already know it. It's arguably the most famous moment from the PG era. And number 1 is the end of an era, WrestleMania 28, Undertaker versus Triple H. And that is each of our top 10 lists. And before you move on from it, though, I will say your number 1 match, that and the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens match, those are the only matches that legit made me and the crowd worried that like the person
Someone
was
was gonna
seriously
die, yeah.
hurt, and yet they just kept getting hurt.
Yeah. It's perfection. If you haven't watched NXT, you can watch it now. It's very different. If you have a Peacock subscription, definitely check out some of the Black and Gold NXT matches. Every single takeover is great. And when I say takeover, that's their pay-per-view matches.
Yeah.
But that's gonna wrap up the podcast for today. So once again, I've been Ben with Aaron.
And what are we talking about?
What are we talking about next time?
Did you pick this up? No, I picked this episode, so you get to pick the next one.
So we are going to talk about serial killer movies.
Serial killer movies?
Yes.
Okay.
Coming after seeing the Batman, right, with the Riddler basically being a serial killer.
How would you define a serial killer? Does it have to be human?
Yes. So
Okay.
I've heard a lot of people say that the Batman was basically a ripoff of the movie Seven. So we're gonna watch Seven.
Okay.
And we can watch a couple of documentaries of cult leaders and stuff like that.
Or I could just watch Bray Wyatt promos.
Bray Wyatt promos, like Charles Manson, stuff like that.
I was not expecting serial killers.
Killers.
I guess I have some movies to watch.
Or we can just talk about anything else. We're gonna.
No. I like it. Let's do it.
Just how about controversial, crazy movies that are just insane to watch.
Controversial. I mean, if you want to talk about
We're gonna watch
controversial,
or just breathtakingly good.
well, I mean that's pretty big.
Because we're gonna watch The Lighthouse. Psycho thrillers. That's what we can talk about.
Psycho thrillers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We can talk about Joker. We can talk about The Lighthouse. A Beautiful Mind.
So just to clarify, we went from serial killer movies.
We're gonna watch Seven. I really want to watch Seven.
To controversial movies. But now we're doing psycho thrillers.
Yeah.
We'll solidify whatever it is when the time comes.
Or none of the following.
But that general theme. And all right, with that being said, this has been the Human Paradox Podcast, and we will see you guys in the next episode.